crazy. I got to figure something out with that. Hey, what's up, y'all? Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining me on an off night. I'm Michael from Destro Designs. We are live from Viper Den Studios with an extra special guest in here tonight. I have long been referring to him as the action-shot master and practical effects god, Mate Mylar. Everybody, round of applause for our guy. How are you, my brother?
Doing good. How are you tonight?
It's good. I am excited. Having you on tonight is the unbelievable icing on the cake of a very excellent weekend. Yesterday, Saturday morning, I coached all my daughter's sports teams, right? And so we had a game yesterday. It was, as a team, it was by far our best game. They played amazing defense. My one daughter was sick, but her twin sister, who played, had three amazing stop and throws from third base, hit
Nice.
a ball that went over the outfielders' heads, which was a bases clearing triple, and it was just an amazing game altogether. And then immediately after that, I drove. So I'm in upstate New York, Albany area, and I drove down into Long Island for the Cradle Con, which is at the Cradle of Aviation. It's a convention center. And I met up with members of our community on Twitter, which was CG Horror and Riptide O'Leary, two incredibly stand-up guys. Now, CG and I had been close for, let's see, I really got heavily active with the Destro Designs account this time last year, maybe May or March or something like that. And CG was one of the first guys that I became close with, and we became very close. Just for when you vibe with somebody and it's working, you wind up becoming close. And we were talking about it yesterday, that I feel like the nexus point, the beginning start of what our community is today, was when CG was open enough to talk to me about some things that were going on, and at the time, it was all I could kind of do. But I was like, you know what, little gesture. And I sent him a figure and a sticker. And he was also very open to tell everybody else what that meant to him and how important it was. And in that time, that's what you see us doing on Twitter. That it all came from that. Because I'll be honest, I owe it to him being, because not every dudes that our age, again, I'm not to assume your age, but we're all come from a certain generation where guys didn't talk about stuff like that, right? This was not, you didn't talk about your feelings. What feelings? You're a guy. You don't have any, and we all know that's not true. We have big feelings, especially me. Yeah, for sure. Yep. So anyway, getting to meet him was actually in person was something that was a long time coming, and it was fantastic. And again, I'll always credit CG for being open like he was. That really kind of, I think, set the stage and opened the door for other guys to kind of start. And then the giving too. I was addicted to it. Then it was just I just started DMing people so I could try to see where they were at and what was going on. And it became obvious that just a little, I was like, oh yeah, right. Life is hard for the majority of people. You know what I mean? And sometimes, when you have a series of losses where just, because life, let's be honest, life screws people in varying degrees, without a doubt. And some people, sometimes they reach a point where all they need is just a little W, a little win. And even sometimes that win is getting just a G.I. Joe from a practical stranger on the internet to, set you in the right direction, or at least see a glimmer of hope, a reason to kind of to keep moving forward. So I will always credit CG for that. The other gentleman I met was Riptide O'Leary, who has become new to this community, I'd say, for only a couple months. But last night, when I don't want to browbeat you with a whole entire breakdown of the trip that I made, but just to be noted, the gentleman gave me what is in essence his entire classified collection, because he, like yourself, is true blue 3 3/4. And after having collected some classified stuff, it became new to his or became it was obvious to him what he preferred to do. And plus it was, everything has already been released in 3 3/4, so you just got to go look for it. There's no waiting for anything in the classifieds or what is it going to look like. You know what you're getting. So anyways, the donation of first he gave me a 00 Snake Eyes, which is the the classified that comes in this big crazy thing, and it's just a special version. It's sweet.
That's a great Snake Eyes.
Isn't it? Isn't it? Like, so I'm a commando guy. I like the goggles if I have to pick one, but
Yeah.
I very much appreciate the visor, and that visor with the silver like that, just amazing. But all of the other items are going to be given away to members of the community. And I also have a couple ideas on. I feel like there is you can do a raffle. Like, say we have a Serpentor.
Yeah.
Serpentor is going for like $250 on eBay right now. Like, that's what it's actually selling for, which is crazy. And I feel like, if we had a raffle where $5 a ticket or $6 a ticket, and you limit it to 50 people. So for $6, you have a 1 in 50 chance of winning the Serpentor for a couple bucks. So a member of the community gets it for next to nothing. And then the proceeds get to be recycled back into the community. So you're taking, yes, giving one person a Serpentor would be great. But imagine, in essence, still giving it a person a Serpentor for $7 measly, but then also being able to have all this excess money. Because I know, that there's, just by the numbers, like math alone, members of our community have to be struggling financially right now. There's no question.
Absolutely.
Like, I do okay, and I'm at the grocery store going, Jesus, what? And looking at every time you open the phone, you're like, what? My brother Cal 327 says a GI Joe lottery. Yes, that's basically it. So, but don't get me wrong. That is for some of those items that are selling for a lot of money on eBay. That way we can, but there's other ones that would be very easily, just straight up, you know what, here's a bazooka for you. I'm sending you this. Oh, you don't have a bazooka and you're kind of looking for it, but you don't have much. Here's your bazooka. So it's kind of like what we did for Christmas time. There was a member of the community. I said it on the podcast that I wanted to do a like a Christmas drive sort of thing. And I said, but I need somebody to reach out and tell me that you need this. Cause like, I don't know. I don't want to call and start asking people, do you need money? And so anyway, member was brave enough to reach out. We raised $700 and saved Christmas for the family. So, and that's
amazing.
I feel like that's kind of what we can do now. So the meetup yesterday, what I would consider the Operation Joe Bro meetup, was a complete and utter success. And rarely, to be noted, rarely do you ever meet somebody that you've never met in person before and have it feel so like, no, it feels like we've met before, right? It wasn't that I don't want to even say awkward, but like, you meet somebody for the first time. I was just getting out of the car. Now all of a sudden we're hanging out. But it was seamless, and we got a wonderful story from Little Riptide's son. When we went to go get pizza, we were, he could see that we were all exchanging stories, and he was like, I got a story. And he gave us a magnificent breakdown of the playground by his school and how tragedy befell him. And he wound up falling off and hitting his head, but persevered through the trials and tribulations. So shout out to Rip for such great storytelling. I greatly appreciated his long way home with the details, because that's how I live my life. So God bless, brother. Yeah, good job, Little Rip. And Mrs. Rip was lovely as well, for sure. But that was it. And then I had got home in a reasonable amount of time. And honestly, I would have drove twice as long to have had that pleasure. Oh, and it's funny. Oh, by the way, I did meet Larry Hama, and he signed my, yeah. So
how great is that?
It's very cool. So special shout out to Larry, because as you're experiencing, or if you've ever seen any of the podcasts before, I have a particular type of energy. Larry, in his age, after having sat in that chair all day, because I got there literally with 30 minutes left to meet these guys.
Right.
I tried not to blow his wig back, but I did a little, and I could see he was just like, and I didn't, I'm like, dude, listen, it meant the world to me when I was a kid, and it most likely saved my life as an adult. I don't know what to say to you, but thank you so much. And he was like, oh yeah, you're welcome. And of course, you think about it afterwards. I mean, how many times do you think people have said that to him? It's no matter how much it means to us individually, he's heard that speech probably, 100,000 times, if not more. So anyways, and at the end of the day, God bless. Listen, I felt every bit of his energy. I get that way when I'm finally sitting down at home, but it was, so yeah, I met Larry Hama, and we also met, have to mention this, Mary McDonald Lewis, who's the voice of Lady J. Now, she actually follows some of us on Twitter. has acknowledged that the super positive of the community. She noticed it from afar, and the next thing you know, we're all friends. And she took what I felt was an exceptional amount of time to literally stand in a circle off with us away from the table. She was just hanging out. We shot the ship for a good 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, when she's supposed to be making money behind the table, right? So here she is over here, and something like that, you make your money by charging photos. She took a lovely group photo with us, didn't charge us a dime for it. I just thought that was, that's an above and beyond. So shout out to Mary, that was excellent. And like I said, we went out to pizza, had a blast. I made it home, and all was well. Also, real quick, a little bit of one more community note that I want to shout out to. My brother Jay Antonio has a absolute angel for a wife who has turned 48 years young today. So we have to give a special shout out. Happy birthday to Kathleen, who is also a Cobra Commander fan, high key, mind you, Cobra Commander fan. So on this special edition, there will be no jokes about Destro was right. We will defer to, they had a great working relationship, and that was that. So Kat, happy birthday from all of us here. We really, really appreciate it. Absolutely, yeah. She really takes good care of our brother, and that means the world to me. So hopefully you all are watching, and you enjoyed your day today for sure. Today is your day, and you have tomorrow off. That would really do the trick. So and so part of what was donated by Rip was 2 big boxes of figures, and then a complete Dragonfly, which a HasLab, which is a gorgeous piece. I just got mine. It's right here. It looks amazing. I love it. It's under it. Yeah, there it is. You know it, buddy. You know it. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And so, you know what? I'm sorry. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. CG Horror 3D printed me this absolute 12 out of 10 functioning yep. You know it. You know it. Dude, this thing is so thick, heavy. Yeah, man. Ooh, that is nice. Look at that. I love it when people turn the camera around, right? Because you really get a good look at what's going on there. I got to put my shades on for respects for that. But this is just an absolute stunner. And because he knows I'm 788 obsessed, he made me this wonderful sign, which the 788 stuff is like kind of can't see it that well, but it'll all be this is going to be the like the nameplate for the display for sure. But I had been talking about this for a while. This was one of my favorite things as a kid. Dude, the nice detail in all the spots. I think I'm gonna take a hand at adding teeny tiny little details, right? Just little knobs and stuff that's here. Just put a little tiny bit of color to it. But like this part right here with the shield, there's one bar connected to one of these, and you snap them together. But the weight of these is so unbelievable. It's like super thick. I love this here. I know there's a name for that. There's like it's for grip when you walk on metal.
The tread plate.
Tread plate, yes. That just looks amazing. So when I actually just set this up a little bit, I turned it so you could see that. You can have a guy like standing there. Dude, it's really so shout out to CG. And he made me a bunch of stuff. I have a drone. Oh God, I feel like I have to show it. He made me 4 other ones, and one the Devilfish, the Mountain Howitzer, and the Armadillo. But this thing right here is, he even admits that it's probably one of his best prints. The inside is like 100% accurate to what the original. Dude, the tinted glass. It is. It's one of my favorite things that I have. It's really ridiculous. The only crime is that I've only been able to do one shoot with it, and it wasn't even featured anywhere near the amount that it should have been. So I plan on changing that ASAP, because that asp is going to be part of the display. Is it right here? Yeah, I got my Fort mods. So, and I got the swinging door set from GI Customs. So, and that sweet Viper Den Studios sign. So I have all these trench vipers. I got the blue. You can't see it. It's behind some figures. It's the bar from Moe's Mine. So it's basically going to be a Cobra Blue scene, right? Where it's going to be all mostly like troopers and officers and the trench vipers and a blue asp and the blue Fort mods. and that's going to be the entrance to like some on the side of a mountain, right? Where vehicle doesn't even necessarily pull in. It's you pull in, you get out of the vehicle, you walk in through. I have a set of doors from Sis 3D Arsenal, and that's going to be the whole thing. But my thing, like I'm sure you understand, with all these different ideas is time. There's only so much time in the day.
Yeah.
Man, the only reason I want to win the lottery now is to, of course, help others. 100%. I'd give most of it away, but I would actually just be able to go endless days of doing nothing but building dials, setting it up, and taking pictures. Because boy, oh boy, is well, we'll dive into stuff like that just in a hot minute.
It takes no time to hit the button. You can hit the button, take the picture in moments, but to get to that moment, and I mean, you think you got the moment, and then you look at it and you review it and you sleep on it. And the next day, it's like, yeah, you know what? It's not there yet. And so, I mean, it takes a lot of time to get to that actual moment.
It is. You're 100% correct. It's like a lot of times, like you can't tell people, like you don't know how much goes into that little shot. Even if you're doing like a close up of like 2 or 3 guys, you still have to set the background right. Otherwise, I have this problem where I can't just take 2 figures, set it down real quick, and like take a picture. I have to do this whole thing, right? And it's like dudes who are like, there's a couple dudes who are like pose masters. Like I think I just seen his name right here. We'll go through the chat in a minute. Just Another Jerk can set up a couple figures, and he can pose them so well that you don't even notice there's no dial. You're just like, oh, that looks amazing. That looks totally awesome. Like when you look at my photos, if anybody that enjoys my photos, I feel that sure I might have an idea of what would look cool, but I have an oversaturation of figures and then gear from Mo's Mine and Sis 3D Arsenal. I just have awesome stuff, right? It's just awesome stuff. It's just a lot of awesome stuff in one shot. And so that's why when I see stuff like that you make, it's always so amazing to me, because even if you got 3 or 4 figures and this awesome, well, there's one particular dial that you made that I'm going to ask you about because I think it's fantastic. But yeah, so that it is. Just Another Jerk the other day made his first little video where he kind of pans across a scene, and it was, I think he said, what was it, 40 seconds, and he sent me in a DM. He was like, dude, did I really just spend 4 hours to make a 40-second video? And I was like, that's actually decent time if you're thinking
that's
about
a
it.
good return on time. Yeah,
100%. And it was a dope video. He had 15-ish figures in it, and it looked fantastic. I'm pretty sure he put that up on X. So I usually, when first time people come in the show, I like to start at the beginning, right? Because I feel like a lot of the people that I know that love G.I. Joe, or as I say it, like I wrote a whole article on it, that there's no such things as halfway crooks, right? I don't know anybody that like sort of likes G.I. Joe. It's either you're rather obsessed with it to some degree, or you just have a general not, like you're indifferent to it, right? Like I don't know anybody that hates it for sure, but it's just there's no middle ground on that, and I feel like a lot of that starts all the way back in childhood, and like so. Well, what was G.I. Joe in your childhood, my brother?
It started out with the cartoon. I was 4 years old when it was on, or at least when I first started watching it. So 1984, kid of the 80s. I'll be 46 in July. So watching that before, I mean, first thing you wake up and eat my toast, my morning cereal, and G.I. Joe's on. So love that. Duke, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, the Mask Device, that the first 2 miniseries, they just played those on repeat, and then I wanted a G.I. Joe figure so bad, and I remember I think it was the summer of '85, so a year later, my folks took me to the city. We lived about an hour outside the city, so it was always a big deal to go there, go to the toy store, go to McDonald's, and all the stuff my little town didn't have. So Dad took me into the Sears or the Eatons or whatever it was in the mall, and I was just blown away. This whole aisle of G.I. Joe and all the figures on the pegs. And he said, son, just go through them all and pick the one you want. And I was looking for a Duke, couldn't find a Duke. The closest thing they had, I didn't know. I mean, I just knew the figures from from the TV show. It's 1985, so what's on the pegs? Closest thing to Duke, Ripcord. So Ripcord, my
Right.
first figure, and I loved it. Didn't care it wasn't Duke. I mean, I loved this gun. For me, 5 years old, it was all about like how cool does the gun look. How cool
Yes.
is the character? He had the camo, so you could take his gear off and he could just be like a regular soldier and fight Cobra. You know, you could put the gear on and he's the paratrooper. So that was awesome. And I mean, quickly Spirit followed, and the Crimson Twins for Christmas, and the ATVs, and
Yes.
yeah. So, and then looking at the catalogs, that 85 cross-sell catalog that came in the vehicles. Oh, I love that. I mean, I don't want to get like too in depth and personal backstory, but I had a lot of problems with my ears when I was younger, and like chronic ear infection. So I'd have a lot of operations. I was really nervous and anxious about that. So take my mind off it. My folks are like, look at this magazine, look at this cross sell. So I spent so much time just, you know, taking my mind off the surgeries and things like that, just looking at that catalog, and the killer whale, the tomcat,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Just love it.
Yeah.
So G.I. Joe, it was an escape for me. You know, it was like I didn't have to deal with this real scary thing. I mean, it's ear infection, so I'm not going to die from it. But you're 5 years old, so you know you don't really
no, you don't know.
really
You're
know
scared
these
shitless.
things. So exactly, yeah. So and I'm thinking like, why am I weird? Why aren't my friends here? Why am I the only one that this is happening
Right.
to? So
Yeah,
you know,
that's the thing. You don't get that as a kid either.
No, and I didn't know like what anxiety was and all this stuff. So yeah, G.I. Joe was an escape. I mean, there's these big, colorful, positive people on TV. I was too young for the comics, so I wasn't reading that yet. But
Same.
yeah. So and now you go to school, and my friends. I'm an only child, but my friends had older brothers who were reading the comics. So they would tell their younger brothers who couldn't, you know, they weren't allowed to see all the adult stuff, right? But we got this kind of filtered down backstory of, you know, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes and how they related, and all of a sudden, like, what was just this fun, you know, cartoon escapism kind of started to get real as we got older, and it felt like G.I. Joe grew with me as I got older and matured, and then I could get into the comics, and it still kind of it stayed with me. And yes, Larry's stories are just brilliant. I mean,
Yes.
it's more than just like you know, 80s action movie stuff, which it is, and that's great. I love that. But I mean, like Ace fighting Wild Weasel, and
Yep.
like even like some of the first stories where Hawk is like, yeah, that was all just a decoy. You guys weren't the main mission,
Right.
you know, whatever,
Right.
and just kind of pushes it off, and like, yeah, there's some really good stuff there. And later, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Don't let me interrupt you. Go ahead. For sure.
I was going to say later that got me into the Nam comic series. So I read all that, and that's G.I. Joe, but that's very adult G.I. Joe.
Yes, very adult.
Yeah. But again, it like I'm saying, it's just G.I. Joe grew with me. So you know, as an adult, like I don't know, maybe 10 12 years ago now, I'm like, hey, I have some money and eBay, and so let's go and get these all the toys that I couldn't afford or that weren't available. I was too young and kind of missed them when they came out the first time. So you know, started filling in my collection, and I really wanted everything 82 to 85. So I mean, 85 was like my year. 82 was kind of like the mythic origin of G.I. Joe, where it wasn't in the stores, but all the like my friends' older brothers and whatnot said, hey, you know, what about the APC? And that blew my mind when I saw that for the first time. It's like, that is obviously a G.I. Joe vehicle, but I've never seen it before. I've never seen it in like in the stores or on TV. But it fit the world, and yeah, that was pretty awesome. So filled out my collection, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm an adult and I want to play with my toys, but I'm not going to get down on the floor and play with them. So how do I interact and still have fun with them and enjoy them? And at first I thought that was just like building shelves. And so I took a room and I made a Joe room, and had built all kinds of shelves and put them all up and displayed them and everything. And okay, I had fun building it, but now that it's done, like I'm just kind of looking at them, and it's kind of boring. So then I thought,
Right.
well, okay, what if all the shelves were dioramas? So my next intent was, build a cobra diorama, an underwater diorama, and a sky diorama, and a snow one, and then so set up the figures and display them that way. And so the first one I did, I had an old Sky Striker with none of the parts; it was just the shell. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I built the Sky Striker falling, like crashing, and like in that moment with explosions and whatnot. So, okay, well, how do I do practical explosions? And I'm not even thinking photography. I'm just thinking, how do I display my toys? Because I really like building the stuff and setting them up. So it's like, let's build some dioramas. My dad was into model trains, so he was building dioramas and stuff at 1/72 scale when I was growing up, and I played with my GI Joes on that. So I got a lot of experience from him. So
That's nice.
yeah, I got some plywood and some foam board and spray foam and sand, and just like experimented and had fun, and got some chicken wire and car lights actually, and wired those all up and built a little power supply, and yeah, put the chicken wire mesh around the car lights, and then I started with pillow stuffing. So the first explosions I made were pillow stuffing, and that spray foam or spray adhesive on the pillow stuffing, stick that to the chicken wire, and then lighting gel or cellophane, like color gel, put that inside of the chicken wire mesh, and a little black spray paint on the outside. And yeah, so it was probably like 2 weeks of just building this diorama and just having fun, just being in the world of GI Joe and having the cartoon on YouTube in the background, and just like living in the world of GI Joe. And anyway, so I finished it, and of course, I'm going to take a picture of it when I finish it, and I put it on Instagram. And it's not like I made an Instagram account to post that picture. I posted some things before. It was all GI Joe related, and I had some other accounts like for my own personal stuff. And I'm an audio engineer. I used to be like playing a rock band and all that stuff, so other accounts for that, but I didn't really want to mix the two. I'm like, I you know what, when I go on Instagram, I just want to see GI Joe. I just want to see our GI Joe toys. So I made an account for that. I put some pictures up of the shelves that I built and the toys I had on the shelf or whatever. But so anyway, I made this diorama specifically just to display in my Joe room, and I put it up, and then it got a little bit of attention. And then something in my brain went, oh, well, there's other people that are taking pictures. And I started to get into that world, and like, well, I can build dioramas, and I can actually make pictures, make like GI Joe pictures, like comic book style, like set them up in camera. And yeah, so it just snapped in my brain, and then I had to do that. And of course, then I had to figure out how do I do muzzle effects. I wanted that on the guns. So again, I went back to the world of model railroading, and it's called Just Plug lighting system. It's for like street lights, like the little tiny street lights, and just super tiny LEDs. But you just put a little dab of hot glue on the end of that, and then some Tamiya translucent orange paint on the hot glue, and you can hide the wire behind the other side of the gun, and they're just small enough to hide behind Snake Eyes Uzi. And yeah, so then I was off to the races, and yeah. So to answer your question, a very long. No. That's how it all started, and that's the general progression of just from being a kid into GI Joe at the right time. Like I mean, I started with He-Man because that was what was really popular when I was 2 or 3 and 4, and then yeah, GI Joe came around. It was like, nothing against He-Man, but GI Joe is exactly where my head wanted to be. I mean, Transformers was there too. My friends were in the Transformers. I love Optimus Prime. I mean, you can see him behind me right there. Right. But yeah, and GI Joe is always my favorite. So yeah, from the childhood into collecting as an adult and just filling in my collection, then nostalgia and all that stuff, to accidentally getting into toy photography.
Right. No, dude, those are the kind of answers, first of all, that I love. And just to say, there's a handful of people in the chat that are saying they love, this is the shit that they love. Real quick, I'm just going to kind of whip back and see who we got here. There's a
Let's
lot,
do
so
it.
I'm just going to kind of go through it. Yeah, we got my brother Ellis, Dreadnought E. Welcome in, bro. Paul Morales. We refer to him as our Mater D. He's always welcoming in everybody in, and it's nice because sometimes if I miss it, I see he says it. Just another jerk is here. That's one of the pose masters that I was referring to. We could just put a couple of them out there and a couple figures out there, and next thing you know, it's a great picture. Orskizio is in the house. What's up, my brother? Another upstate New Yorker. The man himself, Riptide O'Leary, who I was talking about earlier, is here. Thanks again, Rip. Really appreciate you. A lot more to come on everything. I wish I had more time today to go into it. I actually had to jump up today and go to a birthday party for my father. So like I was hung up all day. MM Toys, welcome in, my dude. He is a new member of the Twitter community who apparently has printed absolutely everything, including a classified scale flag. So if anybody is here and has not gave him the follow, yes, tons of stuff, and it's all amazing. I'll circle back to that. Our carded king, Kalel327. So Kalel has one of the craziest collections I've ever seen. He has just about damn near everything on card, or the international version of it, and then also like a few of them loose. It doesn't matter what figure it is, he has like that. Now, obviously, it's not
insane.
every single one, but if you've seen it, you're just like, dude, when does it not end? Like it's anytime somebody posts a picture, he's like, yep, here it is. Now, I love that he does that.
Okay.
I think it's fantastic. So very good, very good. Matt from Mo's Mind is here. Matt is one of the wonderful printers that I love to talk about all the time. My brother, for sure, he made this big hunker right here. That is the Atlas. We'll talk a little bit about his stuff a little bit later in the show. Roadblock is here. What is up, my dude? From all the way out in Arizona, my dude is here. I hope you had a good time with your daughters coming back into town, my dude. I can't remember if that was this weekend or next weekend. Let's see. Mike Gold 410. Welcome in. I almost don't recognize the name. How did you find us, my dude? I usually, because sometimes people on YouTube have a different name than what they are, like say on Twitter or Instagram. So if I don't recognize the name, I usually ask, and a lot of times they throw it out there. The Happy Plague Doctor is here. What is going on, my brother? Glad you can make it. Cal says, I win the lottery. I'm going to recreate a Toys R Us from the 80s like the guy is doing with the Pizza Hut. Now, that is something that I can get behind for sure. Just another jerk again. Yes, Riptide says, Mate Mylar, this is so cool. I love these stories, how people got into the Joes. Just another jerk. Seconds that. Plastic Battles is here. What is up, my dude? And he says, Matt is the man. God to photography. Yes, this is what I have been saying for about a year now. Yes, 100%. I second that for sure. Thanks for joining us, Plastic Battles. And yeah, Matt from Mo's Mind echoes the sentiment where I said that Cal has everything. Matt says it's every single one. And then
It's
Cal
so
responds,
impressive.
It is. It truly is. Like you can't. There was one the other day that I hadn't seen before. It was a new one. I can't remember what figure it was, but I remember when I saw the original tweet, I went, he's probably, and then when I scrolled down, there it was, and it was like this combination of surprised, but also not surprised at all. If that makes any sense. Like it seemed like such a figure. It was an oddball figure. Cal, do you remember what that was? I think I even said that. I was like surprised, but not surprised. Yeah, very good. So there's a couple of things that you said in there that all really struck very similar to what I had going on. So your collection, are you saying that you actually had some of the stuff from when you were a kid, and then somewhere along the way you kind of went back to and were like, oh, I can get the stuff that I don't have because here's eBay and everything like that. So how much would you say of the OG collection that do you have?
I probably had, depending upon if we're counting like totally complete, not a lot complete, but 30 to 40% of it when I was a kid. Not new in box. I mean, it was all my dad taking me to yard sales on the weekends. So we're talking 87, 88, and I'm trying to buy anything that came out from 82 to 85. So, pieces here, pieces there. I did get newer. I mean, I wasn't going to turn down anything G.I. Joe. So anything that looked cool, the Mean Dog, the Tomahawk, anything that looked military that had that look to it, I was getting. That being said, I was still getting the weird stuff. I forget what it's called, but it's neon and it's black and it has the little blue glider. It shot the glider. Crusade.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I
I
can't
know
quite
it.
remember.
I just saw it the other day. Just saw it the other day. I know what you're talking about. The
1990
little thing that
maybe.
shoots off the
Yeah,
top.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Somebody knows. Somebody
The
knows.
the neon green mines you flung off the side, and I mean, it didn't look like anything uh anything real. The hammer, I was into the
Yeah.
hammer. That thing was
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Agreed.
That was
Agreed.
Slaughter's ride for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
um
That was the Humvee, right? It was basically
that's
the
right, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Very cool. There's a few vehicles like that that kind of maybe they were later in the releases or they slipped under the radar. Like I saw one the other day that I had that was very basic, but I loved it. It was the Desert Fox. Came with
yep,
the poorly named Skidmark, who we always joke around. You got to make a 2-pack of Skidmark and Backblast. Like they should come in a 2-pack and because they just go so well together. But no,
yeah.
that I guess Riptide Old Area says Destro Little Rip is going to bed. He says hello. Well, good night, my brother. Again, it was so nice to meet you. And next time we meet, I want you to have a few stories lined up for us. So keep that in mind, for sure. Yeah, there was a couple vehicles that slipped through like that. There's one actually. My dude CG Horror just printed the what is it? It's got every tire has like 3 wheels. It's neon green and like a bluish purple. What the hell is that one? The Swamp Smasher.
Oh,
I
the
think it is.
swamp masher. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm a sucker for it. There was another
I love
vehicle that
that. The
I do.
buzz bore. How awesome
Yes,
is the buzz
yes,
bore?
totally rips. It absolutely
Yep,
rips. It is such
yep.
a cool fucking thing. I first of all, it kind of reminded me. Didn't He-Man have something similar where it
The
was? Oh, they
Skeletor
had
has the
theirs was flat.
roton.
There was
Yeah,
flat, right, right, and I
yeah.
love that thing too, for sure. But and speaking of which, when you had said that, basically it was like it was very similar for me, where what I had was He-Man, and then as soon as I saw GI Joe, it was just like, you can do whatever you want with that shit, Mom. Just don't ever buy it me again. Don't tell everybody in the family it's GI Joe only.
Yeah.
So that's listen, Ripcord is an awesome first deal right there. I my first one, so I think I remember seeing some of the ones from '82, and I think it was just I was young and there wasn't the Snake Eyes or anything. It was just like 3 of the green shirts and maybe
Mhm.
Scarlet. And I just kind of remember being like, what? And then my mom bought me some He-Man, but it was like the next year we went back into the same store, KB Toys, and they had eight pegs, and the top 2 on the left were Destro and then Snake Eyes. I think it turned out to be version 1.5, which is basically the
Right.
same thing. I don't remember what that variant is, but it was 1.5. And I was like, now what is that? And so I grabbed those 2, and then I'm trying to remember. I know I went back like not long after that, and it's kind of up in the air, but I think I got Tripwire, not Rock and Roll. I've tried to think about this and go back. It gets a little muddy for a minute, like out of that next one. But I know because it was just an onslaught. It was like anything that I could get my hands on, I was taking it. Vehicles. Now the APC, also totally one of my favorites. I think it's an underrated vehicle, meaning like
Absolutely.
you could carry it like this with all your figures in it, and then you would set it
Yep.
down and immediately take everything out. Like you could even just throw stuff in there. You didn't even have to like make sure everything was, just playtime's over, fine. Everything goes in the APC. You carry it in like this, and it floated. I mean, for the love of it all, what more
Yep.
could you possibly want from something like that? And it looked cool. Oh, I thought about this the other day, and I said I was going to save it for the podcast. I don't know if anybody else out there had it, but back in the day, they used to make these little mini shelter-ish things, and it was just a PVC frame that had, sticks, that little fit PVCs that were probably as thick as my pinky, right? And they had elbows and whatever. And I had the one that was the APC. So it was big enough to get in. It was like it was just flat on the top, but then the top part, there was actually that cannon base that you blew it up, and there was a little nozzle that came out, and it was
Oh,
green. Bro, it was the
that's
coolest thing.
amazing.
There was just enough, like in the front, it came down for the windshield, and then had just enough of a butt out that it resembled that kind of a point that it came to. Yeah, I had
Yep.
just thought about that the other day, and I was like, oh my God, I just remembered that. Yeah, I had that thing was like, um, talk about imagination, right? Like
Yeah.
something I've always said too, and maybe you sort of experienced this in the same way, but I felt like it was somewhere in between 85 and 86 when I had a fair amount of Joes at that point, and I was playing outside, and I just kind of remember like noticing that when I would think about GI Joes and setting up GI Joes, I just remember being like, well, I don't think about anything else like this, right? Like, because you get, like how you were saying, when you're young, you don't know what anxiety is. You don't know, like, should I be worried about this? And it's a
Yeah.
surgery. You can't, like, you don't have the perspective. There's some things that only come with age, right? And
Yeah.
and so I remember thinking oh, I don't, like, I'm not creative. I can't remember the exact words as a kid, but it was just like when I see a couple GI Joes, I immediately think of a million things to do with them. When I look at anything else, I'm like, meh. You know what I mean? It just kind of took over my mind in a way that not just like with toys or whatever. It was this is all I wanted to do, was dial into
Mhm.
these things, and largely, I mean, I had friends, there was kids that I remember lived on the block, and there was one kid that lived like two doors down that had a bunch of Star Wars, and so that was
Yeah.
adjacent, right? So we just always would kind of play together. But it was 100% like a thing that I felt like I wound up becoming a more creative, imaginative person because I had that toy line at that particular time when my mind was forming, right? It was just
Yeah.
something that, because even like you were saying, like looking at the catalog, so is something, any kind of catalog thing, I would just stare at it 100%.
Mhm.
When you look at card art, it's very similar in a way that, like, I couldn't tell you how many hours I've spent staring at Shockwave card art, right? Just for whatever reason, that one always did it for me, because it's like the figures in your mind when you're holding a little piece of plastic. I don't see that. I see what's on the card art. That's what this thing looks like.
Yes.
Shockwave
Yeah.
looks like the card art, and yeah. So and it was interesting. You named off, like, so was Duke your initial favorite, or was Ripcord just did you have a one in mind, or you just walked in, you saw it, and you were like, wow, there's Ripcord?
Ripcord was a surrogate for Duke. I'm not going to lie. Off the top, anyway. When I realized, there's a better version of Duke, and that's Duke.
Mm.
Then Ripcord became his own character. He wasn't really based on I saw on TV. It was more uh, the file card. And the GI Joe lore is so dense. I mean, there's so much to it, and it's
Um,
how deep do you want to go? I mean, you could just go superficial with with the cartoon, and have a little fun, some slapstick humor, and put Snake Eyes in a dress, or
right,
you can go a
right.
little deeper and get into the comics, get into the PTSD, and his backstory. Yeah, it's kind of a choose your own adventure type thing. Um, so yeah, Duke was kind of, I mean, Snake Eyes is hands down my favorite. I know you like the Commando. I was partial to the V2.
Okay.
I know there's just something about the visor. It was the first one I saw in the cartoon because I saw the second miniseries
Right.
first. So
Yeah.
that was
Oh,
kind
okay.
of
Okay.
my one. And I was of the age, so the comic covers that I'm seeing in the store, even though I couldn't pick them up and look through them. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, they had that version, and then by the time I could buy the comics, it was Snake Eyes had number
That's what's up.
63. That was my first GI Joe comic. Yeah, but with Snake Eyes aside, yeah, Duke was my favorite. I guess probably just because he was the main character in that miniseries. So,
Mm.
he's either in a coma or he's getting captured, and I didn't really pick up on that until I was older. But yeah, Duke was kind of like that main character.
Yeah.
That main character energy, as the kids say. So
Yeah,
he's
for
my
sure.
favorite. But then, outside of that, Gung Ho. I love his,
Yeah.
I addressed you too, sweetheart, kind of thing. Yeah, but I mean, there's so many great characters, and
Mm.
my appreciation for different ones changes over the years.
Yeah,
as I get
yeah,
like,
yeah,
as a kid, I did not like Shipwreck. I mean, I could not stand it. He was just annoying, and it's just like CoverGirl doesn't want you, and Lady J, he's got Flint, and don't even think about Scarlet because Snake Eyes is going to mess you up, or Duke.
right, right,
You got double trouble there, but just just sit in the corner and let someone else take care of it. But as I get older, I mean, he's Han Solo. He's the Han
right.
Solo of the series, and now
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
think it's great. So I go back and I can watch the cartoons again, and I really appreciate it now. And he's a great character. I love Shipwreck.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I kind of had a similar feeling as a kid. I just remember thinking, like, why is he getting so much play? Like because he was often on. He was, I was like, he
Yeah.
doesn't even really like ever hold a weapon or anything. He wearing an outfit that looks like, with all due respect to the military guard, looks like a janitor. Like he literally looked
Yeah.
like the janitor from the elementary school. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? But and so there is an aspect of me that agrees. But when you go back and you look at it, when you watch it, like you're saying, as an adult, it's a very different story. Especially the episode where like they, I can't remember the name of it, where Cobra steals a bunch of family members, and one of the
Yeah.
people that they stole was he had a foster brother, right? I believe it was
Yeah.
he was Shipwreck was adopted, and then his little brother was also adopted, and his little brother had just found out. And even as a kid, I can kind of remember being like, oh, well, that seems like a nice thing to do. But yes, yeah, that's interesting. So I do enjoy the visor on Snake Eyes for sure. I almost feel like the way that I kind of do it is, if Snake Eyes is trying to be sneaky and get in and out of somewhere, then he's going to have the visor. He's going to be ninja-esque. He's going to sneak in and out. He's got his swords. He's ready to go. But I like the idea of him being the alpha commando as well, where like, I have this little sub team. I call it Strike Team Fangbuster, where, it's Night Force Shockwave, Night Force Beachhead, and they're door kickers, right? Cobra's hiding in the communities of our country, and that's where we have to find them. That's just my own little story. And so part of that is like I want, Snake Eyes is like one of the best commandos you can find. So I love doing just retro Beachhead and the Alpha Commando Snake Eyes, because I think they're like, Beachhead's the ultimate commando too. So you put the two of them together, they're just a two-man strike team, forget it. Or you can put them on the Night Force sub team. Now, I want to take the classified version 4 and make them look a little more like this. My brother G.I. Dave sent this. This version of Snake Eyes is insane. I think those goggles are super cool. I love the soft goods.
Man.
Yep, still got 2 swords, but look at all this stuff. That's not ninja stuff. Those are grenades and all kinds of stuff to, do all that with. So it's got to be one of the reasons why, to me, he's not just like the iconic G.I. Joe. Like, he should be recognized in the pantheon of all comic book characters, right? Or cartoon characters, where, first of all, he doesn't talk and he's still freaking awesome, right? Like, he doesn't have to say a word. That's how awesome he is. It just is there for you to see. And having him, that's why I'll always say there's Hama's the GOAT. Even if you're only looking at Snake Eyes, you're only looking at Snake Eyes. He made this character an icon, a cultural icon, but he never spoke a word. Right? I don't even think he says anything when the LLRP show up in the comics, like when they do the flashbacks and they show him in Vietnam. I don't even know if he says anything in those freaking those issues. So you make him that, and then he becomes popular looking one way, and then you literally release a figure that is not completely different, but there's enough changes to it where you changed his face in essence with the visor, and he got more popular, right? He was already there, and then he got more popular with the version 2. Because let's be real, they gave him a sword, a wolf, the bandolier of grenades, and that visor is polarizing, because it's kind of like it's almost like Cobra Commander's battle mask, where now we know what happened to Snake Eyes. It was the Vietnam, and they had the helicopter crash, and that's what happened. But you don't know what it looks like, So like, at least when there's goggles, you're like, oh, it's just like a dude with goggles on. This visor thing was like nothing that we had never seen before. So it just opened your mind to, it could be anything. You could have night vision back there. It could be whatever it is that you want to be. It's the ultimate expression of GI Joe, where you can make your own headcanon because it's such this expanse, right? Like you're saying, it's character rich. There's the plot rich. There's just so much shit going on that you can fill in the blanks between these characters and how they met and what the story is with anything that you want. And it always winds up being good because the main parts of it are there. So yeah, no, that's I totally, as much as it's one of those things, it's a Sophie's choice choosing between the commando and the visor, because
Absolutely.
they're both undefeated. But it's like gun to my head. And honestly, I'm not so sure if I ever felt as strongly about it until I got this one here, this Alpha Commando. This one's obviously in the box and Hama signed it, but I have this going down as arguably one of my favorite classified figures. When I was on Destro as my spirit animal, we did me, Mark, and the other Mark from Yojo Reviews. We all picked our favorites. We did 5 Cobra, 5 GI Joe, and I ultimately picked Wolf Spider, and then I think I had this guy who is wearing the same vest as Snake Eyes in that. Like this guy, this was one of my favorites, and then that Snake Eyes I think is, they were all up there. And it's once I saw that one, for whatever reason, just the way that they have the jawline kind of in the mask, it just looks absolutely incredible. But then you open up this and you look at him with that gray visor, and now that changes it a little bit because it looks so incredible with it being gray and everything like that. So when I give lists, when I say I put Destro and Snake Eyes above the list, right? They're obviously, I shouldn't say obviously. To me, nothing will ever, that's what brought me in. That's what reached out and was like, grabbed me by the shirt collar and dragged me off into the oblivion that is the GI Joe fandom. It was those. It was those two. So underneath, I say Beachhead is my number one, right? And then 2 and 3 are Shockwave and Alley Viper. Those will always tie. I don't think I'll ever change that. Those 3 will always be that way. And then you start getting to, I think, I'd have to look at a list, but I know Low Light is really, really up there. I always really like Salvo and Ambush as well. Hit and Run.
Salvo's great. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Leatherneck.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I mean, he was a quintessential army guy, right? And he was great in the cartoon. He was part of one of those duos, right? Even as a kid, I probably didn't fully understand it, but I appreciated the dynamic between Leatherhead and Wetsuit. I knew brothers that fought like that, or married couples at times.
Yeah.
And that's what and I just remember thinking, I was like, oh, it was one of the many things I feel like that made the whole thing seem sort of real, or realistic in a sense. So I had when Sergeant Slaughter came, you were like, oh wait, Sergeant Slaughter's a real guy. You know him. I could turn on wrestling and I could see him out there wrestling. And then you start to, at least as a kid, you start to go, well, wait a minute, are some of these vehicles real? Does the Army have maybe some of this stuff? Because some of it is, look, I doubt there's a stun. Where it just opens up, that.
I'm not going to lie. They tried it once and it was horrible, and they never tried it again.
Yeah, dude, I can only imagine. I think Doc Sewage made the post where he was like, oh, we're under attack. We'll quick expose the soft underbelly of our vehicle as we shoot into the sides. It's just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. Cool.
As a kid, cool. You were saying about Wetsuit and Leatherneck fighting. I watching the cartoon as a kid, that was great, comedy, slapstick, comedy relief sort of thing. Watching that as an adult, I feel like that shows you how there's conflict within family, and there's conflict, within teams, and on whatever side you're on, there's conflict within Cobra. So conflict isn't about good and evil, we're right, they're wrong. There's conflict everywhere, and you have to work together to resolve it. It's not about being right and being wrong. People are going to have different ways of addressing things and feeling
Right.
about things, and so that's, you're going to butt heads, and you have to find a way to work together, or you're going to shoot someone with a laser.
Right, right. Or shoot the vehicle that they're in while they jump out at like the last second and the vehicle explodes. That's the
Yeah.
generally, but no, that's 100% correct. Like I've noticed similar things in other cartoons. Like there's just one cartoon. I have twin 11-year-old daughters, right? So not that long ago, even still now, it's good. But like there's this show that we used to watch, and I think we watched it not that long ago. Big City Greens was the name of it, right? And it was
Okay.
about this family that grew up on a farm. They had a farm, and the grandmother, or I'm sorry, they wound up having to sell the farm and move in with the grandmother. And the grandmother lived in the city, and she refused to sell her plot, so they gentrified completely around her. So here, this family moves in to this house that stands out as a let's just say like a low, like poverty level type of family that's living around all of this huge city, right? And like it was just the father and the kids because the mother was in jail. And in my head, it's like imagine if you're a kid who is in a situation like this, like maybe your dad, maybe not necessarily lost a farm, but he lost his job, and you had to move in with your
Yeah.
grandmother, and your mother's in jail. There's no representation for something like that, right? Like there's kids out there that almost certainly identify with some aspect of the
Yeah.
main through line of that. And again, maybe this wasn't even their intention, but I just know that like when I had that in my head, I was like, yeah, you can make a cartoon about whatever you want. And maybe if it makes some kid be like, oh, okay, this isn't as weird as I thought it was, that this is my life, right? That
Yeah.
the kid's name is Cricket. Like, oh, Cricket's mom got in trouble too. It's not that, I don't know. I feel like there's real value in not stigmatizing kids at such an early age. You know what I mean? There's like
Yeah.
plenty of that now, especially seeing as how unfortunately there's a lot of people that have their kids on social medias or unfettered use of the internet, right? Like it's a hot topic. My kids don't have tech. There's no phones.
Right.
They don't. Yeah, just none of it. Honestly, at this point, they're not even on computers. We have a Switch, and I don't really see the need for anything else, because when they don't have the option, like if they have the option, if they like, oh, and we tried an hour a day that you could use maybe the family desktop or something like that, just to kind of, there's games on there and stuff like that. And it just became too much, because when they weren't
Right.
on for that hour, all they thought about was trying to find a way to get back on. Well, hold on. I didn't do my iReady thing. Can I just have 20 minutes? No, you take it all away and you say, I'm sorry, this is no longer an option, no matter what. They immediately start going and doing things creative. Like the very first day that I had it, after about 15 minutes of finishing the conversation, they came and they were like, do you still have that big cardboard box? Because I'm a contractor, and I had finished this apartment for somebody, and one of the things that I put in was a refrigerator, and I took the cardboard box back to my house to cut up and get rid of it, but I hadn't cut it up yet, so it was just standing up out there. And they were like, yeah, can we have that? We have an idea to cut it up and make a fort with it. And I was like, see, this is what you're missing out on by staring at this silly screen. And then, I try not to make them feel bad for enjoying it, because it's got its hooks in anybody that has it. It's not just it's not you. Every adult I know is chronically online. Like it is what it is. But that's part of the thing. And so there's a lot that but to wind it back, that's where we got into that, was that there's G.I. Joe had a way of showing you things that were real life intel, right? Like the knowing the half the battle thing wasn't just in that little segment at the end. They were giving you ideas about stuff, throughout the whole thing. Some of it, if you go back and you watch now, some of it you would have never understood as a kid, but like Worlds Without End, Steeler having an existential crisis, just things like, but that's real. Dude was going through it. Dude,
Absolutely.
and in a legitimate way. Like they took something like this is this dude's life is fighting Cobra, and he got fed up with it. You know what I mean? He was he lost his purpose until, of course, at the end when he found the other world where he could bang the Baroness, and then he was he was happy as hell.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. After meeting Mary McDonald, it's hard for me to say that the Baroness is the best female character. I think by default I have to say it's Lady J from now on.
the Baroness is great, but yeah, I'm on Team J.
And I feel like there was I don't know, like the Baroness was seemed almost as like a, I don't want to say a one trick pony, but she was just crazy, right? Lady J,
Yeah.
you see her, she's like there's anytime there's a couple episodes where she's around kids, and just I don't know, there's just seems to be a bit more of a range as a character, with no
Yeah.
knock on the Baroness, no knock whatsoever.
No.
That, well, again, that's another thing G.I. Joe showing you that women can be badass too, right? Like that, Cobra has one, GI Joe has a few. I think that was important, but ultimately, I think I think as a kid, what had to probably stand out to most people as the biggest thing was they fucked with everybody. They had
Yeah.
everybody on the squad. They had dudes from all around the world, different colors, different, different accents, things like that. And like they even touched on, again, sort of in a very, very way that I'm talking about Big City Greens. Like they talk about like Gung Ho's family. Like with he was so crazy that they just drove Cobra away without even trying to fight him, just being themselves. That's which I think is crazy. It's just a very cool way that they ended that one episode of. I think that's the one where they went and kidnapped people's family, and they were
Yeah.
like, "Gung Ho, did they take anybody from your
Right.
family?" And he was like, "No, no, no, they did not." Which is great. And I'm sure there's a lot more different kinds of instances where they have stuff like that. And yeah, so that was it. I love the cartoon. I, like you, when you were saying, just didn't necessarily have the comic around. It was the same thing for me. I don't know, like it was I had collectible stores that were near my house, and I lived in a city, wasn't like in a rural area or anything, but there was a comic shop that was in downtown, and my memory of it is that I remember hearing an adult talk about it before, because I kept asking about GI Joe, and then I think like somebody asked when I was a kid, and I believe that there was something said along the way that it promoted war, right? Now, obviously,
Right.
Thanos fighting Captain America is obviously not real. This was a little too real for his liking, so he didn't carry it. Now, is that true? I can't say for sure, but I have a memory of having a discussion with an adult like that. But you know how that goes. Who the hell knows it really happened?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I had no GI Joe comic book. Where I got most of the ones that I had, I used to make trips into Pennsylvania with my grandfather. And so once a year, he had family down there. So we would go down, and in the town, there was a collectible store. And it was like half of it was like sports cards, and the other half was like comics. And he did have figures. And so every year I would go in there. My grandfather would buy me a bunch of figures, bunch of comic books, just whatever, because I would make the trip with him. That was part of the deal. He's like, I'll buy a ton of shit. And then I had all new stuff to play with over the weekend. It was really a sweet deal.
Nice.
And so I remember the first year I went there, told the guy the story that I was like, yeah, I can't get these comics at home. And he was like, oh, no kidding. And he was like, well, it's a shame, you never be back. Now, that was the third year I had been there, but we just discovered the shop. And I was like, no, I come every year with my grandfather. And he was like, well, if you come back next year, I'll have something for you. And he did. He had a stack of comic books like this, all G.I. Joe. And, he
Nice.
charged for them, but he was like, no, he's like, I ordered them and I had a few. And he's like, I have a guy that has a subscription or whatever the hell it was, or to something. And boom. Yeah. So I'd get a stack. I'd get a bunch of Joes. Getting shit like that is crazy. I feel like I've mentioned the story a few times. I don't know if you ever heard it, but like one of the most memorable gets was when I got version 2 Destro, the Iron Grenadier, with the despoiler. So I was on vacation. It was Easter. We went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. My mom drove my sister and I down, and my aunt flew down to hang out with us when we were down there. And so we walked into this like this store that had like beach toys and all kinds of stuff. And I was standing there and I looked over and I saw it. Now, as you know, back then we didn't have the internet or whatever it was. Whatever you saw on the back of the box, that was your info. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
that was
I
it.
think this is, I think this is what's out right now. Or if you again like a catalog or whatever. And so I
Yeah.
saw it, and I remember just like levitating with my feet off the floor, just going right over for it, and then immediately giving my mother this bullshit spiel like, this is a exclusive that's down here. If we go back to New York without it, I'll never be able to get it. Like, we absolutely now. God bless my mom. She did buy it for me. But like, I remember that very like unbelievably vividly. And that's what I mean about like G.I. Joe in a sense of what it does, how it gets in there for some people with stuff like that. Like, there's nothing else in my life that I gave a shit about like that. Like, not,
No.
even when I played sports, I kind of hit. So somewhere around like when I was like 12, at that point, I was playing football, football, baseball, and then some basketball. And then by the time I was 13, I was playing all of those sports and running track. And it was just like, it was just, I had the toys. I unfortunately, I had almost all of my stuff until in my 20s, I moved and left to a big, huge box. I had like the Terradrome and a bunch of shit just packed in around it. It was a bad loss, but it is what it is.
Oh.
And yeah, so I had them. They were always kind of there, but I did hit a point where it wasn't cool to play with toys. That was the kids that I hung out with. It wasn't cool until I kind of moved on. But there was a period there where I definitely, if I can remember correctly, in like 91, I was 12, about to turn 13. And I think there was a couple banger figures that came out that year. And I remember getting them, but like in secret. Like, I didn't want anybody to know that I was like, it would be one thing if they knew I just had my old ones, that would be bad enough. But if they knew I was still buying them, I was like, I don't want to find out what they think about that. And then so that's when
Same.
what do you do? And then somewhere in 2008, Walmart had some 25th anniversary like reissue stuff. I have them up here. They're still in the box. It's a Fang, the Hiss 1, the Hiss 3, and the Awe Striker. I remember they were like $1.50 a piece. So I was just like, yeah, I'll get these. I didn't really do anything with them. It was like a version 4 Dragonfly with Wild Bill. That's pretty cool. And then for Christmas, I think somewhere around that time, or my birthday, my mother got me if you remember, they had the scenes where it would be like there was the one, it's Roadblock with the vines, Lady J and Destro, and you got a piece of the math device, right? Yeah, and there was a DVD in there. So my mother bought me that one because she always, it was widely known that I was obsessed with Destro, and so I remember she got me that, and then fast forward again, but they just went right. I was glad that I had them, but they went right in the closet. And then fast forward to whatever year the classified His Tank came out. I had no idea that they were doing a 6-inch scale. I had never heard of it. I was retooling my business at the time. I was crazy busy, and the kids. And I remember somebody being like, "Yo, look at that!" And they showed me on their phone. It was the pre-order for the His Tank. And I looked at it and I was like, now again, mind you, I thought it was the 1/18 scale. So I was like, $300 and I don't get it for a year. Get that shit the fuck out of here. I don't know what they're doing, but I ain't buying that. And so I didn't know. There it was. I didn't know. And then December of 2024, I was on Amazon searching for some stuff, and there was the Alley Viper, and it said right in the description it was like 6-inch, and I was like, wait, 6-inch? I was like, that's fucking, get out of here. So I was like, I want it. This is $20. I was like, I'm going to buy that. And I immediately bought it. And then like 5 minutes later, I was like, do they have a Destro? And they had a Destro. So I ordered that. And I just got those two at first. But it was, as soon as I opened that Alley Viper and slid it out and looked at it, I was like, oh, I need all of these because these are incredible. And so that's what started the thing. So I see you do have some classifieds.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm into classified. I wasn't sure how I would feel about it at the first. I mean, 2020, I think is when they came out, and I was very into ARA 3 3/4. The first figure I opened was Roadblock. and I didn't expect to. I fell in love with it. It was awesome. The
Nice.
Hasbro did such a great job, and then I opened Destro, and I mean the shiny
Yeah.
face, the articulation, the rockets, everything. Yeah, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm collecting another toy line now.
Right.
Yeah, so I am classified. I don't collect everything. I kind of follow the same rules that I use with Aura. So anything 82 to 86. With that being said, I mean, there's stuff that I had as a kid that I'll get, like, so Hit and Run. I got Big Lob because, I mean, the movie, the wetsuits, when they come up with Salvo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And not too long ago, I'm just looking at him. He's off screen over here, but the Royal Guard. How awesome is the Royal Guard figure?
Dude, blown away. It's one
Yeah.
of the things, it's like everything is so proportionate on it, meaning like the wings are the perfect size, the long staff with the half moon kind of grabber at the end
Mhm.
stands up and looks perfect. I love the extras that it comes with, so you can connote between, like, say, one that flies and is quick and one who's got a little
Mhm.
more bullish with the big horns and everything like that. It is
Yep.
I think it's a 10 out of 10 action figure of any kind, right? Not just GI
Yeah.
Joe, but like in general. No, for sure. I like, so Cobra Law is not exactly for me, but I just love
No,
GI
me
Joe so
neither.
much. I mean, as a kid, I definitely was like, it was more about, like, what offended me was like it was asking us to forget everything that we knew about GI Joe, right? Like it's said, well, we all thought that Mindbender was a genius because he came up with this idea, but no, it's flying around in a nutsack globulus, put an earworm in there and somehow that's what did it. I just remember being like, I
Yeah.
dislike that's the case. And
Yeah.
also with Cobra Commander, it's like if you have one of those friends and you're growing up in a group friend and there's one friend that he's, for whatever reason, you wind up busting on him a little bit more than others, but the minute that somebody outside the group says something to him, you're just like, no, 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 that's our guy.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And that's how I felt about Cobra Commander. It was like, no, no, no. Only when they calls him a buffoon is Destro, maybe Mindbender. That's it, right? And those are the guys, and those are his friends, and that's why they
Yeah.
get away with it, because they're his friends. Like, they're like, no, dude, you're being a egotistical peacock. What are you doing? But so the way Serpentor did it, and especially how they, the Cobra Lot people treated him in the movie, within in that fucking kangaroo court that they were holding, and they all said they have him in the claims show. It was just, everything about it drove me crazy as a kid. I wrote one of my first articles for Serpentor's Lair I wrote was all about that and how much it bothered me then. And the more I kept thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I still feel that way now too. Fuck those guys. But that being said, Python is an amazing figure. The Royal Guard is crazy cool.
Yeah.
I plan to do a display. I've got 4 Royal Guards, so Python in the middle, two Royal Guards on each side.
Nice.
It was a shame. I was just in Target the other day, and they had like 6 Royal Guards and 4 of the Special Forces guy, the Legacy series,
Right.
which
Yeah.
that I wasn't surprised about. I don't know if you got that one, but
I
I
haven't
thought
seen
I
it
thought
yet.
it's overwhelmingly underwhelming, to say the least.
Right.
So while I generally don't deviate from classifieds, it's either the retro. No, I'm sorry, I do have maybe 20 of the ARA 3 3/4. Right, they're my favorites
Mhm.
from when I was a kid. I've also had some of my brothers send me a couple figures, and sisters a couple figures, and I like having those. Those are all going to be in a display as well. But purchasing for doing photos and everything, I'm more or less sticking to the classifieds. And
Right.
yeah, and when I saw the Monster Force figures, they have that line called the Delta Red, and there's about 4 or
Yeah.
5 of them that would just forget it. They're crazy awesome. The loadouts and the rigging and all the stuff, they're just so good. So I wound up buying one, and the second I took it out of the package, I was like, I wish they would give us this. Like, I'll pay the 40, but make it this, right? With all the
Right.
paint apps and the extras, you get the hands, like even the packaging on it is like elite top notch stuff. And so that's really what did me in on the special forces guys. So I had two Delta Red guys. I mean, shout out to Big Bad Toy Store. The rifle that was in the first Monster Force one, that it was broken, the barrel was broke off. I sent an email Sunday night. They fully refunded me for the whole figure by Monday at like noon. I couldn't believe it. I was like, yo, I'll just take the gun. I don't need all that. But if you're giving it, I'll just buy the other, because I was torn between there was two Delta Red guys, and I couldn't tell which one I wanted. Finally, I just like blindly selected one, and so I immediately just took the extra money and bought the second one. But
Yeah.
so I had those two for a minute, and then the special forces guy, like I remember seeing the render and the pictures, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna wind up wanting a few of those. Those look amazing. But when I took it out of the package, it was not amazing. Like first off, there was the on so I had three of them. I opened two and decided that I was going to bring the third one back, and I did. So if that doesn't tell you anything, I actually returned the
Right.
fucking best figure. So one of the package or pouches right here, because they tried to do that thing where you could move the stuff around. They had the
Right.
scissors
Yeah.
with the scissors right here. It didn't look good, brother. It looked
Mhm.
boring. There was no detail to it. I didn't like the painted faces anywhere near as much as I thought I was gonna.
Right.
The RPG was also like meh. I just was like, yeah, not for this money. Now, if it was the 35 or the 34.99 that like the police officer
Mhm.
was, I mean, I know it's only like $7, but it still is like you're still asking me to like something that's not that great at 35, So
Right.
it was what it was, so anyway, that's that other than that, the classified has been it for me in terms of the purchasing, and it's done. I mean, obviously, we're gonna find out soon what direction that's headed in, with all the big shakeups of, having their number one and number two guys in terms of the creative department have left, in Tony and
Yeah,
Lenny.
I think it's going to be good for a while. I mean, I'm sure they've worked on stuff, and it's not like their time is done, and they're going to have someone design the next thing that comes out in the fall or whatever. So I'm sure their designs are going to come out for a bit. So I'm not super concerned for the short term, but you're right. It's
Yeah.
going to be interesting to see what happens in, I don't know, a year or 2 years or whatever. I have no idea what the
So
time frame would be.
I keep hearing that well into 2028 is what they were like. They work way ahead, right? Like whatever they're
Right.
releasing now, they had finished that a long time ago, which is crazy to think about. So that's like a long time. A lot can change in 2 years. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Mhm.
so well, I'm hearing 2028, and I mean, I've also heard that they do have replacements. So it's not just like they're automatically not working on anything, right? They're replacing
Right.
designers. That means they're going to continue to design things. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I believe it to be true. I don't know anything more than that. Hopefully maybe we find out Yojo June,
It's
but
close.
it is, but it's almost
Yeah.
like there's one little kind of a detail that I thought was strange. Now, because obviously, first of all, I just want everybody to do what's right for their families, and I've never heard anybody say a good thing about working for Hasbro. So good for those guys for making the decision that they think is best for them. Who knows what the fuck was going on, right? It could be anything.
Yeah.
But when you have the first guy leave, you could still be positive about it. And then BMAC comes out and makes that wonderful. I think it was on Instagram, and he was like, "No, listen. I'm here. Tony's here. We're crushing this. Everything is all good. Don't anybody worry." And then a week later, Tony leaves, and you go, "Oh well, most likely BMAX said that, and because that's what was true." So it's like,
Yeah.
what is? So that's the only thing that made me a little bit nervous. Like, what is ever changing or whatever? But they sold. Like everybody I know was broke all last year because we bought so many of these figures that they were like everybody's talking about my wallet is filed for divorce papers, and so there's no way the greedy corporation is passing on a lot more money, especially since they already have the secret sauce has been, and the next few things they have has been marinating in the secret sauce. Like they're fine. So but yeah,
Yeah.
long term it'll be interesting, and there's, there's also, I have so many of these things. That I don't ever get to. I don't have time to use. Like if it stops now, I would still be able to have fun for a very long time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it is what it is. I'm definitely just going to try to not like get bent out of shape about any of that. Yeah, I mean, I
These
try
are
to do that.
toys. They don't. These people don't owe us anything. We're not. Like, I mean, like
Yeah,
they've had
it's
a
a,
great run. The stuff they've done is fantastic. A few stinkers here or there, but I mean, not as many as some other toy lines. And like, yeah,
mm,
they're just killing it. It's like you said. Like I've got enough to play with for a long time. I still have a lot of product I haven't opened. I still haven't opened the Arctic Snake Eyes mass device. I've got the divers. I'm
oh,
looking at
nice.
Law and Order, Lifeline. I mean, so I'm backed up for shots. Um, yeah.
But dude, it's like so what I did is I utilized a couple. There's a figure fight club from Instagram. They do an open mic night on Tuesdays. And what I was
Mhm.
doing was is I was going on there and my turn would come up and I'd show them all my recent purchases. But then after that, when other people were doing the same thing, I would mute my mic and then I had a pile of stuff that I was like needs to open. And every night I'd open like between 5 and 10, 15 minutes. I think I opened like 15 alley vipers one night because they were just I only opened the one, and so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get this done and get it out. But so now, excuse me, I have this crazy system of these little bit. Speaking of like this, so here's all the figures, and then
That's
I have a
crazy.
set. Yeah,
Wow.
this actually I just got 3 of these from my brother Jeremy has a wonderful Facebook group called The Pit. And he has raffles and I entered. It was 3 of them complete. I think it was $5. I think I picked 3 of them and I actually was the final 2 because it's an elimination kind of thing. The last name, it's on a wheel and I was the last 2. So yeah, I've won a couple times. So I won 3 of these. I won a Python Patrol lot one time that had, I think, 2 trouble bubbles, a trooper, a officer, a lot. It was a fair amount of Python Patrol stuff. That's what started off my huge. I have like 60, I think, Python Patrol figures or something like that. But yeah, I think those are awesome. I've definitely won more though. Oh, I won a in the box claw, an in the box set of Valkyries that I wound up trading for two Steel Core Sentry Twilight Guard sets, 2 complete sets, a Range Viper, and a Wolf Spider. I traded both of those for all those figures, and so
Nice.
that's just like basically winning that. Man, and I want to say I won something else, but it's an embarrassment of riches sometimes when I look around here. But yeah, anyway, yeah, that's how I got through most of the stuff that I needed to open. But I still have 2 more, actually 3 Royal Guards to open. I only opened the one, and I actually played with that one, just kind of sat here and was like posing it and doing different things, and then I grabbed another
Yep.
figure so we could put that thing around one of their necks. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
What I'd like to do is take like a big figure, maybe not gung ho, but somebody that's like of decent size and suspend the figure a little bit. So, because if you try to hold them up with just the thing, it bends it just enough,
Right.
But I
Right.
want to try to, I want to try to hold that up and get it so the figures try to get themselves out of it. And they quite can't because it's a phenom. What a great shout, and I'm glad that you have that one because it's a major departure from what I look for. Right, if you heard my
Mhm.
list where I was like, oh, the wolf spider, the commando snake eyes, and the trooper,
Yep.
those are all hardline military stuff. That's not.
Yep.
There's like almost no. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of the stuff that's a little kooky that I like even the new shit, like the Ghost Viper. I think is cool. Like I get down with that. It's all fine, but when you go to something like a Royal Guard, to me, it's almost like something from a completely different line, but it's so good. You go, oh yeah, no, I'm going to keep this.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
going to keep these. These
Absolutely.
are good. I felt that same way about Pythona. I haven't opened that one yet. I was going to do it all at the same time. But that figure I thought was pretty good too. I didn't like it as much as some people. There's a lot of people who thought it was figure of the year and things like that. That
Mm.
not for me. Actually, we did. on the podcast. Oh God, I think at the very end of the year, sometime in December last year, we did a wrap up of what everybody thought was their favorite for the year, and we did it on a point system where like, okay, everybody submitted five, and it was
Mhm.
supposed just like a note 1 through 5, your favorite descending to 5. And it was like, so on Twitter, I went through and I counted everybody's. So if you had a fifth place vote for a figure, it got 1 point. For a fourth place vote, it was worth 2 points. Third place, three, and so on. And at the end of it all, Budo was the winner. And there was a lot of people
Wow.
that voted. It took me a while to write all that shit. So it wasn't just like 5 people. There was like 20 people who submitted entries. And yeah, Budo wound up was the Viper Den Studios consensus number one. A lot of people had Crystal Ball on their list too, because that's
Okay.
kind of what started the conversation off. I think Jay Antonio said that his favorite was Quick Kick, and I was like, "That's an interesting pick." Not
That
that
was a
there's,
great figure.
it's a great figure, and but it made me think. I was like, I would have never guessed that was somebody's favorite for the year, and that's when I was like, I want to know what y'all think. What is your favorite? And it turned out to be a great like exercise for all of us to do. I should find something
Yep.
like that again. We could, you know what? We could probably all do it with your photos. Just go down your timeline and pick your top five. Don't be surprised if you see us doing that on the timeline. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, so that's a standout. Any other classified stand out to you that you really like?
Baroness and Wild Weasel from the Rattler HasLab.
Boom.
They're,
Yeah.
yeah, fantastic.
Like, dude, the Wild Weasel, which I kept hearing it was good. I expected it to be good. I was like, oh yeah, I'm probably gonna like it. But there's something about the way that they do the different shades of red.
Yep.
Just like it's all the little choices, right? Like how you tool these pockets. How they do the whole thing with I don't have them on here, but like this thing comes out and then they put the map, on there. It's
Yep.
just, I don't know, the breather, which I can't quite always get to stay in here when I move it around, but no, dude, this is phenomenal. You know what reminds me of this figure, how good it is? I just so happen to have it here. This guy, the Night Force Ripcord, because
Yep.
dude, this that came. I like this in the same way I like this. They just went way over the top with this, adding all the details to it. It's absolutely insanely ridiculous. But yeah, this the Baroness. So again, I kept hearing how good the Baroness was, and the pictures all look great. But I would say to anybody that if you're a Baroness fan or you just really want cool figures, but you can't get your hands on a whole Rattler, this is worth it. I mean,
Totally worth it.
$150 is what you'll probably have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But if you're a for real collector and you want what to me is the definitive Baroness, like by a lot,
Yeah.
I would say that this is the one for you. Like there's no notes. Even the heels work. The boots are
The
great.
heels are fantastic.
Fantastic.
The
Fantastic.
glasses, the hat, the display options, the helmet. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, everything.
Yeah. That
It's a
hair.
perfect figure. Yeah.
That hair. It's just
They
again
nailed the head sculpt. It's just fantastic.
perfect. Perfect head
Yep.
sculpt. And like I'm hard pressed to find the glasses don't look as good on a single other classified figure. Like they
No.
do these for Steeler or Short Fuse who and a
Mhm.
couple other people, and none of them look like this. These are like absolute perfect money. That's a good call. And not to be outdone, I think that this dude is pretty awesome in his own right. For
He's
just
great.
uh,
Yeah.
you know, I think he's amazing. I you know I wish that there was another one of these guys or like another pilot, so you could like. Obviously, you don't have two Rattlers, but the thing with the patches, man, what a brutal way to, give us another figure, give us one of the ground
Yeah.
guys or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Wouldn't it really hurt? But no, so he's
Yeah.
got that same helmet. I love the neon green. He's got the Rattler detail on there, and
Yeah.
yeah, man, I actually love it. So I was blessed. Dan Salsato from the wonderful Twitter community, curator Dan Klex, he sent me the figureless Rattler, and then I was like, you know what? I can't spend the money on the Baroness and the Wild Weasel right now. Worry about that down the line. but I wanted something to put in the Rattler for photos and stuff. And I saw somebody had that, the gunner in the box, the whole thing for, I think it was very cheap. It was, I think it was $60 shipped. So I said, you know what? I'm on that. Send me that. He's got the flight helmet. I could stick him in the driver's seat and it'll look fine. And so it came. And then like the day that it showed up, it said, the day that showed up, Dan sent me a message and he was like, yo, I have a guy down here that's selling the Wild Weasel and the Baroness together for $135. He's like, I'm going to buy it. He's like, even if you don't want it, I'm buying it for that price. He's like, but I'd be happy to get that for you. So yeah, that was exciting, for sure. And also I have to mention, if I said that, he's also put me in the driver's seat of the Dragonfly as well. That same guy that he got those figures from had the Dragonfly for a very cheap price. I think it was $250, and he was so nice enough to just grab it for me. Send it up in the whole thing. So yeah, absolutely cool. Yeah, awesome. That's do you have any of the other HasLabs or is it besides the Dragonfly?
I got the Dragonfly, yeah, and the Hiss, yeah, and the original Sky Striker.
Oh yes, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How do you like that as a HasLab for the 3 3/4? How's that work?
I absolutely love it. I don't have to use my vintage one, so I've got the vintage one with the Rattler set up with the scene from the comic where they're both doing the salute flyby. So in my drone, yeah, and they got the explosions on them and whatever. So I don't have to de-rig that and take it out for pictures. It's got a great little mounting spot underneath where you take the fuel tank off, and it's like a ball joint, so you can pop the ball joint out of the holder and it goes on one of my stands, so I can cantilever it and do shots with it. Having the wings open independent of the landing gear come down is fantastic. Having mint on card vintage Joes is awesome because I have the original, so I use the original figures for my shots. Right. And I just kept Ace and Scarlet and Ripcord and all them on card. I did open what's his co-pilot? Failsafe? Maybe? I can't remember. Yeah, I did open him. I love that he has the gun and the holster, and yeah, I was really into that HasLab. It's great. I was happy it funded. Nice. Sad we didn't get the ketchup and mustard, but yeah, that's what it is.
Many such cases, brother. Everybody a little disappointed on that. My sister Anchor Viper in the house. I'm glad that you could make it. I don't know if you saw, but she did a Kickstarter for the season 2 of TV Cobra, and the rewards are just absolutely out of control. So there's a couple of things that are worth noting. All the artwork and everything that I got is crazy, but this little guy here. So this is a TV. It's got an antenna. You can charge it, and hold on. Let me see if I can turn it on real quick. What? So you turn it. Yeah.
No.
Okay, good. There is a battery. So you turn it on, and it's preloaded with season 1 of TV Cobra, all the episodes of the Action Report. Sounds.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep. Yep. So that's one
great.
Of the and the crazy part is as cool as that is, it's not even the coolest part. Now I can't really show you a lot of the inside, but this is her dossier, which is all about her. I'll just try to see. So here, real quick. It's stuff like this, and amazing. It's one of the most creative things I've ever seen in my entire life. Just a little quick look. It's incredible. I hope. I think there's a lot of people out there. I hope. I don't know how feasible it is to go back, but I bet there's a lot of people outside of Kickstarter that would enjoy getting their hands on one of those once they actually see it. But I also got a pile of wanted posters because, as our sister states, G.I. Joe is the real terrorist group. Cobra is just trying to liberate everybody. So these are all the wanted people. I had to give it a shout out. I wanted to do a lot more on it, perhaps maybe even a full video. I have not had time to lately, so I wanted to take a minute to show you guys. There's sometimes where creativity and motivation where the rubber hits the road on that. Sometimes it doesn't always line up, right? Like somebody can have a really great idea, but not necessarily be driven or have financial means, time. Like there's all kinds of factors, right? But in some ways, for something this good to come, it's like I said, it's all the stars aligning on that. And you can tell when you look at it that like, oh, this is a lot of work. This, to make something quality like this and as in depth as it is, it's very cool. So shout out to my sister for delivering big time on the Kickstarter for sure.
Very cool.
Excited for season 2. Also, there is a Patreon, a TV Cobra Patreon. You should go over there, check that out. I think I've been a paying member since the first week, I think, that it launched, something along those lines. So yeah, very good. I hope everybody out there got themselves a set of that stuff. And believe me, there's all kinds of other stickers and stuff like that, but absolutely fantastic. So thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah. So let me, when did you start taking photos? Like how long into the GI journey was it when photos became a thing?
I was collecting or recollecting, let's say, for a couple of years. So I guess it was probably 2015 that I started my eBay journey, and I think it was 2019 when I started posting. So February or March of 2019. As an audio tech, at least at that time, I was doing a lot of touring. So I was on the road in the summer, spring, and fall. Winter, I had lots of time to myself. So every year it's like, okay, like I could sit on the couch all winter and do nothing, or I can learn a new skill. So that year, my mom was like, okay, you got to get your toys out of your basement or to the basement. Your dad needs the more space for his trains, and I'm not cleaning up my stuff. So you got to take your toys to your house.
Right.
So, so that year at Christmas time, I brought a big wooden crate home with all my toys, and added that to the eBay stuff, and I thought, well, it's time to start displaying all this. And that's when I got into building dioramas, and I was working on his train, so learned some stuff from him, and figured out explosions and got into muzzle effects and all that. And yeah.
Nice. Yeah. It was interesting when you told the first iterations of finding stuff like that out. I think that it's like that. I think that's one of the things that was initially kind of drew me in was it was the creativity of making like those practical effects, right? I think, and that's half the battle. You still have, there's a whole bunch of other aspects to the photos, right? So being able to do like all of the different things at the 10 out of 10 level, that's how you wind up with such good stuff. Is that the secret sauce generally is like, say, the chicken wire and all the and then stuffing it with different things, or do you have different ways of making the blast effects?
Well, when I started out, it was pillow stuffing. And as I learned more about photography, lighting, and I mean, photography is all lighting. Everything we see, it's all just lighting and how it bounces and reflects and how the eye interprets things,
Sure.
what we see and whatnot. So yeah, I started with the pillow stuffing, and I didn't like the grain on it. My brain could tell, okay, that's pillow stuffing. At first, it was easy to fool me, but then I realized I got to get something better. So then I upgraded to cotton. So I found that instead of like just taking a cotton ball and putting it on the chicken wire, I needed to like fluff it up a bit and change its consistency and not have it so uniform. So some stuff is thinner and some stuff is thicker. And so I fluff it up and then spray it with the spray adhesive and let that dry before I stick it on the chicken wire. So it kind of makes it a little brittle, but it gets rid of all those little
Frizzies.
fluffies. Yeah,
Right,
the frizzies,
right.
exactly. Yeah. So then adhere to the chicken wire, spray it with the black. I mean, it's kind of counterintuitive, but you got the smoke and whatnot in an explosion. So I'm going from, you got your white hot intensity in the center, and as it gets cooler, to the outside, you're getting into the yellow, the orange, the red on the outside, and then black as it turns into smoke on the outside. So spray all the outside with the black spray paint, and then you don't really need a lot of color because just the way the light hits the lens of the camera, I found just incandescent or a conventional light bulb would give you a lot of that effect. So a little bit of amber red color gel inside. Tried the spray paint idea at the start, and it just looked like, you know, spray painted foam, and
Spray
that's
painted
not what I
foam.
was.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
not what I was going for. So you know, spent a lot of time primping and making the explosion and trying to make it look good, and you know, and it just kind of looked like a ball of, like I said, spray painted foam. So then I kind of got a little aggressive with it and started tearing it. Like, okay, there's certain spots where the light or the explosion, the gases are going to shine through the smoke and whatnot. So I tear some spots and have absolutely nothing. So you can see directly through to the incandescent light. And so I'm not gentle with my explosions at all. You know, like I'm ripping them, I'm tearing them, I'm re-adhering them and repainting the outside. And
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's chicken wire, so I can form it all around. And
That shit is
yeah,
sturdy. You can get now. When you say chicken wire, is it the stuff that the squares are literally, or
no,
it's the
no,
bigger square?
the big
Okay,
stuff.
bigger
Yeah,
square.
no,
Okay.
the quarter inch squares, quarter inch or half inch, it's way too
Yep.
tight together. So when you start
Sure.
tearing it, you're going to see that pattern shining through.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So
Got it.
yeah,
Okay.
the real big stuff. Yeah.
And,
And I
and
mean,
then
you know, it doesn't have to
no, go
be
ahead.
airtight. You don't have to put your cotton, you know, so you're not making a sweater, you know, it's not going to
Right.
keep you
Right.
warm. And you know what, I've been really lucky. I only caught fire once, not me personally, but the explosion. So I'm using a halogen lamp. It's a work lamp, and I wrap the whole thing around this halogen work lamp, and sometimes to keep light from spilling from the back onto the background. So if I got a blue sky background or something in the background, sometimes it's not appropriate to see the back of the explosion. So I'll put a black t-shirt or whatever and black out the background, or I've even got some black cotton that I'll put on top to make smoke. And yeah, one time it was taking me a little bit too long to get the shot, and I'm using a lot of hey, actually I got the hazer right here. It's Ulanzi, whatever.
Oh,
Anyway, smoke machine fogger. So I'm using a lot of that. I'm not really paying attention, and yeah, I was like, something smells like a campfire. What's going on? And I'm like, oh, and the explosion was actually on fire. So yeah, I had to
no
pick that
wonder it
up,
looks like it.
and yeah, pick that up, and I ran outside with it and threw it out in the snow, and
Nice.
yeah, so then I had to rebuild that.
That
But
yeah,
yeah,
Ulanzi is the name. I actually have two of these lights. These are
yeah,
Ulanzi for $30 each. They have a
fantastic.
bunch. They're fantastic. A magnetic on the back, so you can stick it. Excuse me, stick it to stuff. It's got that standard thread right there. It's got the notch on the top, so you can slide it onto a camera. I mean, you really can't beat it. I've been rocking this, and oh, I actually have it here. That light, and then the small rig. This is
Yeah,
like $50, and it is amazing for $50 for sure. Like I can't believe I only paid 50 for it. So ooh, nice. I love it.
yeah,
You gotta have it. I can't think of the little smoke machine that I have, brother. It looks like a little almost like a vape and it has
right.
the thing that you spin onto the top is literally looks like a cartridge that you would get for a vape, but it has the stuff in
Okay.
there. So you just screw it on there, you hold it down, and like it's got a little hose that comes off of it. It's great. But see that what you have there is something that I need. I need something that's a little bit more like that, especially when I'm trying to cover a fair amount of area. So that's cool. It's a good recommendation for that there. Another excellent elite toy photographer in the house, Yojo Collectibles. He says, "Thank God your dad
Yeah.
had a train hobby that gave us some legendary picks." I
Oh, thank you, brother.
I couldn't agree more. I could guest of the show was it last week? Jesus, that weeks kind of blend together. yes, it's part of my. I have a. It was a 3 weeks in a row of toy photography talk, and and he was on last week. It was great. Thank you for joining us, my dude. Again, it was awesome to have you on. Let's see. Let me try to go through and see if I'm missing anything. Sometimes when I miss so much of the chat, it's hard to go through. Rock Lockdown in the house. What's up, my brother? He says, been following Mate for a while. He always does amazing work. Yeah. It's I'm
Thank you.
pretty sure, a little group we have on Twitter, it's a unanimous kind of thing for sure. That you're definitely our hometown favorite. Oh, so before I forget to bring it up again, when you did that amazing beachhead shot, and with the shout out on Twitter, and you took the time to send me the actual digital files. So I have them printed out. And what I said back then was that I was going to put one in a handmade, oh my God, not a case, a frame, and send it to you. So when I had spoke to you and knew you were coming on, I was like, I have to try to get this done. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it done, but I have milled the wood. It's cut, and then I'm pre-staining some of it before I put it together, and then it's probably still going to be maybe 2 weeks before I ship it out, because I'm under the impression that, like, I know you can't take a rag with stain on it and then ball it up and put it in the garbage because it could start on fire. So I got to wait for
Right.
this shit to fully cure before I can actually wrap it up to send it. But it is about 75% done. And so you will have that sooner than later. Finally delivering good
Awesome.
on that for sure. Ooh.
Awesome.
Yeah, the shot was incredible. The shout out was nice, and I thought it was fantastic. Angry Viper says, Destro, ask him my question. What was the question? There's a lot happening in the chat, and I miss stuff all the time. What was the question? I'll ask him.
Let's see if we can find it.
Mo's Mind says, your photos tell such compelling stories. Oop, there you go. I hate it when it jumps like that. Photos tell such compelling stories. How do you come up with your concepts? Oh, which I think is actually, there. Oh, that's Anchor Viper's question. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
How do you
mean,
come up with such
it
amazing
could be
concepts?
anything. It could be, inspired from the comics, or inspired from TV, or inspired from Michael Jordan ad from the 90s. Yeah, it's weird. You never know where inspiration could hit.
That's true.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean,
Awesome.
sometimes you're inspired because of limitations. Like with ARA, you're shooting, you don't have the same articulation as you do with classified. So, I mean, sometimes you're inspired because you can only do so much, and then it's kind of liberation through limitation. Like, how far can I push this shot with these limitations? And I find that inspiring sometimes. And sometimes I just want to look as real as possible. So I'm grabbing some classified figures and trying to find angles that'll hide the joints or the seams, or try to push the limits of my camera. Like the shot I did where Freedom's dropping the grenade down on the Cobra soldiers. Like I wasn't sure if I could pull that off with my camera. I'd really like to have a probe lens, and I don't. So a lot of what I do lately has been like, how can I get that look without actually, spending the $2,000 on a probe lens.
Right. Were you always using a camera, or did you start out on a phone?
I started on a phone. Actually, the phone I had had a broken screen. I dropped it. I screen fixed, and then promptly dropped it again. So, I was I was I was shooting impaired for a while. But it really doesn't matter what you have for a camera. My folks gave me the one that I have now. It's a Canon Rebel TI from like 2005. So it's not new or fancy. I think it's only 15 megapixel, better than the phone that I was using at the time.
Sure.
But yeah, it's all in how you use it. Like I mentioned earlier, I think it's more important to focus on your lighting. And it's not even like, I mean, you can use the sun. The sun is free, and I mean, you're kind of stuck to its schedule. But yeah, it's more how you light it than the camera that you use. At least that's been my experience.
No, I agree. And especially how the light, not just it's the figures, it's also what does it do to your background, your diorama, like all of that, right?
Yeah,
So like one in particular, it's funny, there's a conjunction. One in particular that always kind of stands out to me is I think the first time I saw is a dio that you made, it was a shot of Mindbender coming through a door, right? And so it looks like that there's more recently you used it where Optimus Prime, I think he had
yeah,
Clutch on his shoulders.
yeah.
And there was somebody maybe standing in the doorway. That's an epic freaking shot. I know everybody knows which one I'm talking about. Um, so like when where would you come up with that? With is it the Transformer crossover coming up?
Yeah, the idea for the shot was definitely from the Energon universe and reading the latest issue of GI Joe and Transformers, where Duke was going to meet Optimus, and he really wasn't sure where he stood on the whole Autobot thing. He was still, all Transformers must die.
Right,
So
right,
I kind of
right,
wanted to tell that story where Clutch is definitely he's befriended down. He understands their plight. He gets, there's good guys and bad guys, and he's trying to get Duke on his side. There's that old friendship there. Duke kind of feels a little betrayal from Clutch for not just backing him on his stance here. So I was trying to tell that whole story at the same time, just get a really big transformer in a classified shot with that diorama.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so that actual diorama, I think I've seen you use it a couple different times, but it's in such a different way and it's lit differently that you don't really realize it. Like if I wasn't eyeballing your shit like I do, like a lunatic, I probably wouldn't be able to, on initial glance, you can't really be able to tell. What is that dial? I do think you told me this in a DM before, but I cannot for the life of me remember.
Well, it's completely modular, so there's a number of pieces to it. There's one main back piece that has the door and one light up top, and then some lights on the side.
Okay.
And then there's a separate roof piece with four pillars that hold it up, and those four pillars have two walls that go in between. But they're all separate, so I can take out two of the pillars or one of the pillar if I need to get the camera in. I can set it up lengthways, like in the Optimus Prime shot, or I can set it up long. I've had it be a missile silo where the missile is coming up through the doorway. I can set it up outside so you're looking into the hallway. So I like to make my dios where I can get, shoot them from different angles and
Right,
get a
right.
lot of mileage out of them. But as far as what it's made of, it's mostly eavesdropping and plumbing fittings, some electrical fittings. There's a lot of Gundam sprues in there.
Nice.
There's old
Nice.
broken GI Joe vehicles. There's 30-minute missions, which is it's basically Gundam, but it's kind of I don't want to say low cost, but you can get a
Sure.
lot of them for very reasonable, and the parts are very similar. So I had like 5 or 6 of those kits, so that was a lot of little greebles. Used a bunch of those. There's some bike tire stems in there.
Ooh, okay.
Rayovac flashlights. So I took those apart. There's 30 cool white LEDs in each one of those flashlights. So I desoldered all those LEDs and use those as the lighting in top. So I wanted to build
That,
something where the light in the picture came from the universe. I call it in-universe lighting because I'm not very
right.
creative. But so all the light that I wanted in the photo, I wanted to come from the diorama. So the overhead lights had to actually be overhead, and all the little like lights, the buttons and the doorway, little green and red lights, all like everywhere had to, like I want it mostly. I mean, I'm throwing some lights outside for beams and smoke effects and maybe explosions and things like that. But I wanted to be able to set up this diorama and put a person in it and go, it's lit.
right,
I don't have to think about
right.
lighting or bouncing anything or whatever. So I had this idea where, oh, I can do a shot every day and just throw a figure in here and get a new figure and boom, and then that kind of went by the wayside. But
Sure, sure.
yeah, so
So,
um
so
yeah,
the
that's what it's made of.
Yeah, well, to get to that, the lighting that you were talking, which is that's all awesome. I have it. Plumbing fittings, electrical fittings. I have like literally these bins of shit over here that I haven't used yet, but I know I'm going to. Right? And especially there's those two in particular, plumbing fittings, electrical fittings. They offer so much that goes on there. But even things like I have these two little portions. They're like for long vacuum hoses that have like just a spiral in the middle. Like you can
Yep.
see the spring
Yep.
that's in there for like make it
Yeah.
depend. I'm gonna paint them black. I know that they're gonna look great. So I wanted to ask you about the lights. So in that one particular dial, you said you had unsoldered the individual LEDs. How did
Yeah.
you then get them lit, or you didn't? It was backlit, like lighting up the actual lights, or you had it hooked to something else.
No, I just hardwired each
Oh,
LED, yeah, and then
okay.
put it up top. And yeah, I've
Nice.
since repurposed them, and I put some of the LEDs in prime. So now when I use the dial, I actually have to find some sort of light that's all the same color temperature to put in every one of those holes.
Oh,
Just because
right,
I'm too
right.
lazy to go out and desolder another 30 lights and rewire it back up the way I had it when I first made it. Um,
Okay. Okay.
but yeah, it was all just point to point. I bought a spool of 18 gauge wire and then just like little jumpers. And so, I want some downlights here. So I'm using tinfoil for reflectors. So the light just comes down in certain spots. So you get the top light over some of the details on the back spots of it. I've
Ooh,
done some
okay.
Star Wars shots. So there is one panel that has those long cylinder type lights from Star Wars, that Death Star style lights. So if I wanted to, I could, put that up and do stormtroopers pretty easily. Yeah.
Nice, nice. I love that. Lighting is it's almost like it can make or break a shot. And it's like when you're looking at in the whole list of things that you put like for instance, right? Like what would you say are the major aspects of a shot with because you have things like posing and I think I heard somebody use a fancy word like composition and like all of these things like when you look at you say okay I'm doing this shot, what are the key factors like when you see your stuff or somebody else's stuff?
Well, for me, I got to get low. I'm doing the snail's
Mhm.
eye kind of view. I like how it makes whatever you're shooting look, big and intense and
Yes.
powerful and
Grand.
um, grand. Yes. Yeah. So my perspective is always low. Looking up. Um, my mo is put an explosion in it somewhere. Now sometimes I try to challenge myself and do a shot without an explosion, but all that card art, all the box art, there's an explosion on every one of those, so that gives me an excuse to put an explosion in pretty much anywhere. But yeah, so get a low perspective. Your golden ratio, your 3-point rule, or
Yeah.
your rule of thirds, or whatever that is.
Right, right,
um,
right.
and then kind of choose how I want to approach focus. If you only have a small portion of your photo in focus, then it can betray that it's a toy, or it's what you're shooting is of a small scale. So but
Right,
sometimes
right.
I want that focus to be really tight on just one thing. And or sometimes I need it to be case in point, I'm really struggling with this blue sky cloud background I have now because of all the folds and creases in it. I can't get it so perfectly flat, so I need a lot of smoke and fog to kind of hide those creases as much as possible. But then that can wash out the figure. So as much as I can put that background out of focus, that helps me hide those lines. So a lot of that can dictate how I set up the figure, how close I get the camera to the figure. I don't like to zoom in with the analog zoom on my camera. I prefer to be zoomed out as much as possible, physically move the camera closer to the figure. But when I do that, then I'm narrowing how or the spot on the photo that is in focus. So it's trial and error. It's a happy medium to try and convey the story that I'm trying to tell, or the image that I'm trying to take. A good example. I might have it. I don't. Okay, I'm going to try and show you this example on my phone. This was
Okay.
supposed to be for today, but I didn't like how the background turned out. But yeah, so we got the night raven taken off,
Oh,
and because it's
yeah.
a picture of a picture being taken on, yeah, so you can't see the blue sky background, but if you could see the creases. So yeah, it
Right.
was
Right.
a
Okay.
failure for
Yeah.
me. So yeah,
That's
I might try
fantastic.
it again. Yeah, I could just go into Photoshop and just blur all those out and be like, yeah, that's a day. But like I said, I used to be a musician. I spent a lot of time with a mouse at a keyboard and a computer and moving little dots around and making drums and fixing my guitars and fixing vocals and things like that. And the last thing I wanted to do when I started this hobby for fun was to sit behind a computer and to feel like it was work. And I could sit there for hours and make what I consider to be a perfect picture, and I didn't want to do that. So somewhere in the back of my mind, the first rule I had was do it all on camera. Just
Yes.
leave it,
Yeah.
do it all at once. Bring your best. Do it all in camera. What you see in the viewfinder is what you get. Now, that's not to say I don't use Photoshop. I want to be clear there. Like, I need something to get the raw from the camera to my phone, so I'm importing into Photoshop. I'm hitting that auto button when you import, and
Sure.
then I'm drasticizing. I'm making up words here. I'm making it not as drastic.
Right. Right. Right.
As Photoshop. I mean, if what they do is 100%, I'm coming down to like maybe 20%,
Okay.
and then I'm saving that as a JPEG. I'm putting that on my phone, and just to see what my phone says, I'll go auto. I've got an iPhone. So I'll hit
Right.
auto on there, and if whatever auto does is 80 or 100%, I'm dragging that down to like 5-10%. And so
Nice.
just
Okay.
so you can barely see that the auto has done anything to the picture. And sometimes I don't even like that. So maybe 75% of the time I'll use the auto feature, and 75% it's just like what I've taken out of
Sure.
Photoshop. But
Manually going in.
exactly, yeah. So now, I mean, I know this is kind of counterintuitive, and I'm making an argument against myself here, where I can just spend a few minutes in Photoshop and fix up those backlines. But now I've got to go back and reset up the shot and get some better smoke dispersal and hide those creases to do the shot
Mm,
better. But that's kind of, it's what I need to do to feel good about my art, or to at least to feel like I'm serving my art properly. It doesn't mean Photoshop is wrong or people shouldn't use it. It's just the way I roll, and people do some amazing things with Photoshop. So
yeah.
yeah, that's just kind of the way
Yeah.
I do
For
it.
sure. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Just wanted to shout out a couple of people. I saw their name pop up a second ago here. Commander
Yeah, let's do it.
Unicorn, straight from Shaolin. Thanks for joining us, brother. My dude Animus Levels is here. I think I saw you earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt Mate, but I missed it. But welcome in, and also my brother Pop Cold Frenzy. Mate, you might even recognize Pop. He's the gentleman who always has the where you can get the best deals on anything classified and all the other different kinds of stuff. It's like anything that you'd be interested in, he's letting you know where to find it. He even does a wonderful job letting us know about different guys, like a lot recently about, like Mo's Mine, Sister's Arsenal, echoing the kind of stuff that I say. So thank you for joining us, Pop, and the service that you do for the community. Right now, it's about a third of all my entire classified collection has come through one of his affiliate links. So it's like, there's if you added up the amount of money I saved by him finding me the better deal just by looking and scrolling on Twitter, and plus it's fun to look at, right? As you're scrolling through, you get to you get to see all the cool shit. So that's fantastic. So, but to jump right back to it, what do you use for Photoshop? Is there a particular program?
The whatever the subscription model is now, unfortunately, just over a year ago, I rage quit Photoshop. I'm like, I'm not paying this exorbitant $19.99 a month anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm going to find a better application. And I spent a good week, 2 weeks, like downloading everything and A-Bing and And I even broke out my old laptop that had a cracked version of Photoshop on it, just to
Yeah.
try it and see what it was like. And none of it was anywhere close to whatever settings, when you bring the raw in, you hit auto. I just couldn't
Right.
replicate that in anything else. So like, well, I guess I got to pay the $19.99. Went to sign back up, and it was now $39.99. So
Oh,
yeah. Because if I
oh,
hadn't rage quit, I would be an existing member, and I could renew at a lower rate. But because I had quit and deleted
son of a bitch.
everything, then I had to sign back up again for $39.99. So
Oh my God.
yeah, that's
Lesson to be learned out there, kids. Don't make decisions angry. It's like never worked out once in human
do
history.
do your research first.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
That's hysterical.
yeah,
Yeah, very good. I've been using Matt from Mosmind recommended a Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom. That's the name of it. And
yep,
I'm sure if I wanted to, if I had the time to get more involved in it, I'd find better uses. But this is one that just is very simple. I can adjust the colors, the vibrancy, and stuff like that of certain things to kind of make it pop. So for sure, it's definitely an enhancement on the photo. I did the shots Cobra Coral launching facility with all the Sister Arsenal stuff. So at the end, I did I had the four different claws launching right in different states of elevation,
yeah,
and I went back and I used it to get rid of the string, so the string that was holding them
right.
up, and I did it, and it was so quick, and I was like, Jesus. That was, if I can do it that quick, then that's how you
Yeah,
know that it's like super easy. um and in that shot, I wound up using it, but it was the first time I tried to do a cotton ball, like for the blast of the claw taking off, and I
yeah,
immediately realized that it is so much harder than I originally anticipated to make it look right, right? Because you can't
mhm,
just you can stuff those cotton balls together, and when you look at it, you go, yeah, that's cotton balls. what
yeah,
what what did you think we were going to think that was? Yes, we see that there's a claw launching and we understand what you're implying, but it
yeah,
clearly looks like nothing like a blast. It looks like you put cotton balls there with a bunch of mini lights. Now, at the time, I couldn't do anything about it. So I think what I did is I got some of them wet to try and change so they weren't all the same size, for Christ's sake, and
yeah,
just to kind of
yeah,
make it, change it a little bit. And I got to the point where I was like, I have zero time. I have to take these shots. I have to, because what was going on is I had that thing built. I refinished that whole other entire half of my basement, and it was up, and I was like, oh, I have to take this down so I can actually like do shit in here now. Because when I built that huge jungle dial, the one that had the running river in it, that was
that was
before it was
impressive.
finished. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I learned a valuable lesson there too. You don't have to go so hard with the concrete because I couldn't carry it out. I had to literally take my and
Yeah,
break it apart. I was
yeah,
like, okay, lesson learned. Just you're not fortifying somebody's fucking foundation. You're literally just trying to make it so it looks like rocks and the water doesn't, whatever.
yeah,
Also, I used a high strength mortar that I think probably had more density to it, which made it like heavier ultimately. We figured it out, but thank you for the compliment. But when I did the Cobra Claw launch facility, the basement had been renovated, and I was just about to. The reason I did this is because I gutted the entire second floor of my house, and we now needed the extra space down here. So
right.
this was finished. I built the Cobra Claw launch facility, and then when I was literally like that Monday, I was starting upstairs and taking everything out, moving everything downstairs so I could gut it. And I was like, I had one more night with the launching facility because it was three sides and each side was 4 foot by 4 foot, right? Connected
Mhm.
and like flared. So it gave it some space to it. And I'm happy with everything that happened. If I had more time, I would have fully like stopped and did tried a lot more different stuff because you would give me some tips about the cotton balls a way back. And if I had the time, I was like, I can't believe I can't just squeeze another like night out of this because ultimately that's what it was going to be, right?
Right.
Kind of as we talked about earlier, you get to that point where if I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a shot today. And so I go over, okay, here you finally get the walls up, you start moving some lighting in. And then, if I'm doing a shot with 20 figures, dude, that takes so long to take. And I hate to sound like I'm complaining about this. It's not it, but it is the time it takes to get them out there. Then I have to pull out the gridiron rifles, and then I got to put one in everybody's hand, and then you got to pose each individual figures. Do you know how many times I've gone to take a shot and I look and I see there's one guy doing this? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I didn't pose him right. He's like totally, there was one time I did a shot where everybody was coming out of the back of the Atlas, and I had breaker dial tones, his mouthpiece that comes around the backpack. It was up like this, like it was a monocle thing. And I didn't even notice. I took the shot, I moved it across, and I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm using it. Guess what? It's a monocle now too. It is what it is. My head coming in. I'll do what I want. But no, but it was a mistake. It was truly a mistake. So yeah, I wish I had more time on that shot, but that's the one. But I had all of the walls of the launching facility until last week. They were out in my shop, and I had to take the shelves off because it was just taking up so much space. And then the Cobra, the cricket emblem that I had on there was peeling off because it was on foam, so there was no real grab, and I didn't use adhesive on it or anything like that. And that's what I wound up with it. But that's the problem with the making the big dio is what the fuck do I do? I'm almost right off the rip, like saying, "Oh, this is gonna be disposable. Like I can't keep this thing. I have to somehow break it down." But I just have like a small series of walls that if I'm doing like a regular shot with, it's like an armory shot, or they're just outside of a building type of thing, and that's how I can do it. And I just bought like 6 sheets of the pink foam board stuff that I have out in the garage because I was at Home Depot and the corners were bent and they were like 50% off. So I said, okay, I'll take all those. And then I have this idea of making a bunch of different style walls that have magnets recessed on the ends and they could just snap together because the foam will stay up, right? The magnet alone will keep the foam up. If you start putting stuff on it, like, awnings or shit like that, then it might be whatever. But anyway, that's the future of like the diodes that I want to try to use. Something you mentioned when we were talking about the cotton balls, and you were referring to like an adhesive. Is that like the 3M number 72 spray? Is that that's the kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So for those at home wondering, you can go to Home Depot. And the last time that I had bought a bunch, there was some on sale, coincidentally again. I had bought a bunch of it, so I haven't had to buy it for a while. I think there's 2 different kinds, but it's the same thing. It's just one is a higher strength, I think, and there's like it's number 72 and then the 90. And the 90 is the stronger one. Do you have a preference between those two?
It's foam, so you're fine with 72. Honestly, I go with the cheapest stuff. Cost effective. It's not wood bearing. You're not saving anyone's life. Yeah. You just need something that'll spray out and that'll help you work with the cotton a little bit, get rid of those fuzzies, and give it a little bit of texture, a little bit of brittleness, and help it stick to the chicken wire. That's it.
Nice. Okay, great. I'm gonna be revisiting that because it's always been like it was always my biggest inspiration, not just the posing and the actual finished work, but the practical effects. Because I was like, well, goddamn, look at how good that is. I was like, that shit's. It's one of those things where like when you do the behind the scenes and you move it, and then you can see it like segmented, how it's from the side, and you're like, oh my God, you're like, yes, okay, now that you're showing me that's what it is, I see, okay, that's fantastic. It's literally like looking behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz. You're just like, holy shit, that's how it is. Because when you take it at that right angle, it's undeniably like looks absolutely perfect. Does anybody ever like I don't want to say accuse, but like, do you ever get comments where people are like, oh, that's obviously AI or shit like that, or CGI?
You know what? I haven't. It's never happened, knock on wood. And when I first started out, I kind of thought it might be a thing, and that's kind of the origin of the BTS. I
Ah,
when I first started, it was just I was just posting a picture with no BTS, and then I think it was every month, like at the end of the month, I would post my BTS for all the shots I'd done that month, and I got kind of tired of doing it that way, so because I had a video for every shot that I did, I was just, you know what, I'm going to post the shot, I'm going to post the BTS video afterwards, because I wanted to kind of get ahead of any accusations like, oh no, you just use Photoshop and that's not real or whatever. And it also saves me from actually putting in the description, hey, this is all practical
right,
and blah blah blah,
right.
and they're drawing attention to that. I mean, like honestly, I kind of want to draw attention to that because it's a thing, but at the same time, I didn't want to say it. I wanted the picture to be like, this is practical and here's the proof. So that's kind of the origin of the BTS, and then it got almost as popular as the picture itself. And like I like learning things. I like figuring out how things work and how they do things and peeking behind the curtain. So I mean, if I'm into it, then I figure someone else is going to be into it. And if I can help someone else, or inspire someone else to take a photo, or if they learn something from my mistakes or something I might have done right, then yeah, all the
Perfect,
better.
perfect. I mean, I think even more like normally I would say, oh yeah, there's always going to be some yo-yo on the internet that's gonna, there's always the person that wants to get everybody riled up. And so it's good to get ahead of that. But I think that whole situation is almost more of a testament to how unbelievably awesome, how realistic it looks. Like, again, with all due respect to so many other great photographers out there, some of which are in our Twitter community, over on Instagram and everything like that. I don't think there's anybody that does a practical effect that looks like that. There's not. And so yeah, I think that having to do not having, but it being a wise idea to do the behind the scenes for the reason of you're just getting ahead of anybody saying, like, here it is. And what also makes that such a cool thing is that you're showing everybody how to do it and they're still not doing it because it's not easy. You've got to get you got to line it up the right way. You got to have the camera in the right spot. I mean, there's so many, and that's again one more thing that it also shows is that yeah, when you're like when you say to somebody like in an interview and you're talking about it, you're like, yeah, this shit takes a long time, and then you see the behind the scenes and you're like, oh, that does look like it takes a little bit of time to get set up, because it's so that's, and when you do see that behind the scenes, it looks like you're always set up in front of that same window. Is that true? Is it
Yeah,
always kind of in the same spot?
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And what do you use to hold the camera? Is that just like a regular tripod stand, or do you have something special that allows you to kind of get it right where you need it?
Nothing special. It was a really cheap tripod stand that just after Christmas I upgraded to the entry level Manfrotto stand. So just a little better connections, a little better ball joint on it. Little it's stronger or it's more stable. So before, the one I was using before, just the mechanical action of the shutter closing on the camera would cause the
Right,
tripod
right.
to vibrate a little bit and move. So yeah, after a number of shots, then I'd have to realign the camera and refocus and
Sure.
reframe everything. So yeah, just got a little sturdier stand, but there's nothing special about it that gets it in any closer or makes me curse any less when I'm setting stuff up.
Right, right, right. I always tell people about like what I'm using right now to hold my phone is I'll have to put a link up for it. On Amazon, it's $12, and it just has this thing that opens and closes. It's got like this
Yeah.
rubber suspension system. It just holds it. Like I have one here. I have another one that's literally it's attached to my dresser, and so it can come over and hold my phone. I have to stop watching stuff before bed. It's not, believe me, I'm always so exhausted that I pass out within 5 minutes, but then it continues to play while I'm half asleep. And I'm pretty sure it's starting to bleed into my dreams because I've been like, I woke up and I had this incredibly odd dream and it like stuck with me, for some reason, because there was just so many very particular aspects of it that I was like, what a fucking weird thing to dream about. And then I just so happened to be looking for something to watch, threw a movie on that I'd never seen before. And then I get to a part in the movie, I'm like, that's it. So I probably like whatever I was watching ended, it immediately started playing this other fucking movie. And the part from it that I remember from my dream was there. I was like, I bet I was asleep and this was playing. So I believe me, I have a hard enough time sorting through all that. I don't need outside influences coming into the dreams. Commander Unicron says, Mate Mylar, you are legendary. Great to have you on with DD. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Try to catch up. I want you to pose so Matt from Mo's Mind is talking to our carded King Cal, and he says, I want you to pose the inbox figures and action shots like out of the box figures. So just don't take them out of the package. Just put the packages around and do your action shots like that. Listen, I would watch. I would look. I would watch. I would appreciate, because that's actually hysterical. So yeah, very, very cool.
It's funny. I've been thinking about Cal. I've been trying to crack the code. I want to come up with a way that using my style to shoot one of my on-card action figures. I don't know how to do it yet, but just because he's got them all. Every time I'm on Twitter, like So he's inspired me to figure this out. I haven't figured it out yet, but stay tuned.
Nice.
Sometime there's going to be a Mate Mylar shot of something on card.
I love it. What a true bit of homage to our brother Cal, who, like so many other people, just kind of find us on Twitter, and the next thing you know, it's, we do sort of try to the best we can gatekeep the positivity and keep, because like we are some kind of weird like Shangri-La hidden fucking thing amidst what is an ocean of just like a cesspool. The internet cesspool is terrible. Like don't get me wrong. Instagram toy photography is not bad. Like I've never really run into anybody's, I'm sure it exists, but I've never really run into anybody like giving anybody shit about it. But you go to Facebook, it's kind of hit or miss. My brother Jeremy's got a nice group, but for the most part, it's people always have an opinion, and it's like, I feel like there's something very important to, if you don't have anything nice to say, there's no reason to say it. If somebody asks you, hey, what, if it's a discussion or you have forums, then you're asking for people's opinions. But it's just one of those things. Like if you're not uplifting somebody, then why are you trying to? There's no reason to bring them down. Especially in a sense of like, not everybody's going to like the same thing. I think that's one of the beauties of the world, is that everybody experiences everything that goes on around them differently, because we're all so vastly different, right? Like when we say we're all individuals, we are really, you may find people that are like-minded, but to the core of things, to quote Russ Cole, you don't know what goes on inside the locked room, right? So I don't know, I feel like, you should just let people live with the choices that they make. And another thing too, like about, is that's what, where we have a bunch of people who are not professional photographers. These are guys who are just, hey, we're just trying to have fun. We're trying to take pictures of these figures, share it. And so I would hate to, like, that's kind of why I look at it as like you could very easily dissuade somebody from posting a single other picture, just by saying, oh, I wouldn't have done it like that, which is for no reason. Like, the unsolicited advice, is not always like, what people think it is. But most of the time, those people are trying to just be assholes as it is.
Yeah.
But we've been lucky. What my point was is that it's almost like a repellent to that sort of thing for the community, because you don't see it pop up. Like, every once in a while, we had an issue or two with, a couple particular people. But to me, it's these teeny tiny little moments that just, like most things, you ignore them, they stop if you feed into the negativity, because that's what they want. Anybody who's coming in and saying some kind of stuff like that, they're trying to draw you into an online argument, because that's how they get their rocks off. As sick and weird as it sounds, unfortunately, the world is full of people like that. some people will take, like they say, they'll take any kind of attention, whether and negative attention is some kind of attention. And so you can't put your energy into things like that. And for some reason, it just kind of reflects out for us. And I like that, we're at a point now where we're bringing it, people see it and just start engaging in it, whether they tag a couple people or they put up a picture of their own and something like that. And yeah, so I appreciate, like your inspiration to this sort of thing where, not only did it bring me to wanting to do it and try to find a way to make these shots look as good, because having something to aspire to, right? And I mean, it totally helps that you're an awesome guy, right? Like you never, like you never know, for lack of a better thing, like they say, you never want to meet your heroes, sort of thing.
Right.
So it makes it easy to want to emulate the greatness, right? Like be like, oh, hey, this is something to shoot for. Like I want my stuff to be as captivating as when I look at that, right? Because that's usually what it is. Like I know I'm very I say a lot about how much I enjoy things, but those are my visceral reactions. Like when I hop on, I look down and like there's a new photo. It usually generally draws a holy shit, look at that out of me. You know what I mean? And so that's good for me in 50 different ways, but also, like I said, inspiring. And I know that it's very inspiring to the rest of the community. And that's fantastic. And especially like, sharing the secret sauce with us and being so helpful. Because I remember, I believe I reached out to you like very early on after seeing just like a photo or two, and I was just like, dude, holy shit, how the hell do you do this? And like you were very giving with information and taking the time to say it. So I remember that being also inspirational when, I feel like the community was still kind of forming itself, and it was like, oh, you can actually have, you can reach out to somebody like that and they can have, somebody, they can be nice and enjoy it as well. So yeah, fuck yeah. The behind, just to circle back to the behind the scenes, like I think that it's almost like the other side of the coin, right? Like when you see you never know how much you'll enjoy something like that until you get it. And the one thing that like you see it and it's good for a few reasons, but it's the inspiration. You also get a bird's eye view of how you did certain things, and that can be helpful, like in the long run. I think that's fantastic, and I love that Cal, our carded king, is now inspiring. Ideas from you for sure. Now, do you have any particular favorites to shoot? Is there any like figures that you just love seeing? Because I feel like I've seen a fair amount of Duke, but I almost don't know if that could just be because he's the main Joe, or is it that he's a favorite of yours?
I love shooting Duke. I mean, classified or ARA, like everything about this. It's my favorite color, green. So he shows up a lot, but I mean he's main character, so he's going to show up a lot anyway. I used to do a lot of snake eyes. I haven't recently. I don't know that there's any one. I love shooting the Sky Striker. I'll shoot that as much as possible. I love shooting the Hiss. But it's difficult. I mean, it's got a great profile, but it's hard to get low and underneath it and still have it read from the front anyway. And there's not a lot of detail when you're low and underneath it. So shooting the Hiss can be challenging, no matter what scale I'm working at.
Interesting.
The Vamp, any flavor of Vamp. So Stinger, Tiger Paw, Vamp, 1 or 2. Those are great to shoot.
I love it.
The Night Raven is really fun. Anything that's black and reflective. So Class 5 Baroness V1 with her black reflective gear. That's pretty amazing.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. I like shooting flight pods. They're pretty fun too, but they're difficult. I see because I'm doing it all practical and cantilevering everything. I've got to put the dowel or whatever I'm hanging the flight pod from through a black sheet that hides the apparatus that I'm hanging it from. So it's really difficult to do any more than one item cantilevered, because it's going to be angled just perfectly at the camera to hide the stick. So I'd really like to do more flight pods, but yeah, you know, for that reason, that's kind of out. But the fire bat is so much fun to shoot. It takes light great, reflecting off that canopy, different configurations with the wings folded up, wings folded down. It can be landed in, you know, kind of taken off, you know, pointed straight up, or, you know, coming in runway, landing on its wheels. Yeah, so that's fun to mess around with. In the lore, you know, it comes out of the Terradrome, but you can have it coming out of a volcano or out of a mountain, or I even have a special exhaust explosion that I made just specifically to hold the fire bat. And then I realized when you turn that upside down, it looks like a nuclear explosion. So that's the one I used with the with the Sky Striker dropping the nuke on Cobra.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. One of the shots that just kind of popped up on my mind, it's one of the more recent ones of Spirit overhead dropping, was a grenade into, there was two troopers looking up. What did it like, where'd that idea come from? Because that is like a quintessential Mate Mylar shot. It's a perspective that you didn't expect to get, and it winds up being so incredible. Like, where'd that come from?
Well, I'm part of a collab group that shoots every like 3 weeks to 4 weeks or so, which is usually a schedule that I can keep. But I was kind of behind, and I wasn't really inspired with the theme of that collab. It was animals, so you know, you just had to have an animal of some sort in the shot. And I'm thinking, well, I mean, I'm going to use Spirit, but I'd really like to get it like underneath. So and I had just done that shot with Slider throwing the rocket, doing the Chuckles maneuver. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun if Freedom was dropping a rocket or something? And okay, what's more realistic? The grenade. And I just got Big Lob, and Big Lob came with the grenade. So I'm like, oh well, I could use the grenade. But the whole time in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm not feeling this animal thing. Like this, I don't like this shot. This is going to be a dumb. This doesn't look good at all. I'm just going to set it up though. So I put Freedom on the cantilever and hot glued him in place, and like, okay, yeah, kind of reads the perspective. That's all right. And then I put the explosion in place, because I mean, otherwise it's just him on black background, and I needed something to make him stand out a little bit. So that was an excuse to use the explosion. And it was originally, the shot was just going to be him dropping the grenade, and that's it. And I'm like, well, I'm still raging. Like, I'm like, this looks dumb. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I'm not going to have it ready for tomorrow. I mean, it's last minute. I'm trying to get this all together. And anyway, I'm like, well, you know, let's throw some Cobra soldiers in there. It'd be kind of cool if they were looking up and they kind of heard something but weren't quite sure what it was. And so let's have them look up at this grenade that's coming down. And like, wouldn't it be cool if like the perspective was from their feet, so you're like really low and you're kind of looking right up their noses? And so I gotta stand, and I'm like, I can't oversell this. I was raging hard about how much I was just not feeling this shot. And so I threw one stand, and I took one of each of their legs, and I just clamp them in the stand real quick, and just throw it in front of the camera, get it as close as possible. Like, it's going to be way too close. You're going to be out of focus. You'll never read what it is. I mean, you're not going to know what it is. It's just going to be just blobs of color. No one's going to, this is so dumb. Just dumb. I hate this. I hate the shot. Everything about it. Just raging out of my mind. And then, so I take the shot, take a few times, and I'm like, yeah, this is dumb. I'm done. I'm totally done. I shut everything off. Take the computer, bring it back in. So I've got like the main room where I shoot everything, and then I've got I call it the green room because it's green. It's where I'm at right now, and there's like comic books on the wall, and I got some classified and Street Fighter and stuff there, and it's where I watch TV. So I've got TV there, and that's where I preview the shots, and just go through, and I'll mark the ones that, okay, I like the background on this one, I like the foreground on this one. Which is better? Would I rather have a background that I like better, or foreground? Anyway, I have a whole process for picking the one I like best. But anyway, so I'm going through them all, and it's like, okay, yeah, that one's good. Yeah, that one's good. Oh, I like that one. Oh, that's a good one too. Like, oh, okay, every one of these. Okay, this shot might be all right. I might be into this. And yeah, so sorry to take a whole lot of time there on a one long drawn out story, but yeah, so that was the story behind that shot, and it turned out way better than I thought.
I love it. I love it. That's great. My brother, just another jerk, brings up a pretty good statement. He says Duke over Flint, and I think I have to agree with that. I feel like, as much as I thought it was like this, Duke reminded me of my grandfather, who I loved very much. He was a great man, but very serious, was as straight as an arrow, you know what I mean? And but was a leader and got shit done. Flint was almost more like a cool uncle, right? Like almost like, like, oh yeah, he's still like an elder and my boss, but like he's more like I could swear a little bit. And, like when I'm 14, he'll probably throw me a joint or something like that for my birthday. That's the kind of dude he was. And so it was almost like, as much as I loved that about Flint, when I thought about who was the leader, right, or who was the head of this, like, I don't know, I always I felt like Duke was the one that was going to make the best decisions to lead them to the promised land, and cared about his guys too, right? Like Flint almost came off as a little bit reckless, I think, so to speak, or something along those lines. I have to agree. Just another jerk. Our dude GI Joe Guy 84, that is Conrad Hauser, joining us. Thanks for coming in. I see Joe's Oscar Mike. He says, you're not taking a great photo when you're dropping F-bombs all in the process. Yeah, man. Listen, I understand. I felt everything that he was saying, and there's a lot of times that, like, I sometimes I feel like I can think that I have no good shots until the next morning when I get up and I look at them with a fresh set of eyes. So I think I started saying this, I got sidetracked earlier, that a lot of times, like if I wait till the kids are almost ready to go to bed to do a shot, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock. By the time I get down here, I start pulling out the stuff. I set up the thing. The next thing you know, it's midnight. And I'm just now, if I'm lucky, trying to take a quick photo. And I'm like, I can't even see straight. I've lost the thread of what I thought I was gonna do. So that I usually like say, okay, I don't want to leave this set up overnight, but I am. And then when I come back the next day, it's usually like right off the bat, I'm like, oh, move this here, do this, do that, take the picture. That's what I want. Done deal, right? It's the at my advanced age, at the end of the day, the mind is a little more frayed than it is, first thing in the morning, for sure. I do all my best work probably within the first few hours of the day. There's no question there. So, how many photos would you say you take? Like, say if you get something set up, you take X amount of photos and then go check it out on your preview page. Like, because I've heard two different schools of thought. I've heard only take a couple, right? Like just try to only take like 5 or 6 and then limit it to, in that way it'll help. But I felt like the person that was telling me this, I was like, well, maybe that works for you, right? But I feel like, I don't know, I take a bunch, and then a lot of times I usually wind up finding one, but I feel like I would have to have taken that many so I could eliminate the ideas. I would hate to put out a finished photo and then in the back of my mind be like, yeah, but I had these 3 other angles in mind that might have even been better. So for me, it's, I'd rather exhaust all possibilities and then make a decision based on that, as opposed to just trying to make it easy for me to only have to pick out of a few. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I'm definitely on the high side. So a low photo shoot for me would be 100, probably averaging 250, 300. And then the shot that I choose is probably somewhere between shot 200 and 300 in there.
Wow.
Now, usually when I start out and I get everything set up and the lights and everything, and I'm to this point where I can start hitting the button, I'll take 5 or 10 and be like, yeah, I got it, I'm done, that's it.
Right.
And
Okay.
then,
Yeah.
then I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what, I better keep going, try different angle, try different lighting, or get some the fog coming in at a different angle or moving at a different speed, because that affects how
Oh,
the fog
right.
looks. I mean, if it's moving still, you're going to see wisps. If it's moving really fast, and it's going to blur. And sometimes you want that for, you throw the fog in front of cotton that might not be out of focus. You can blur it with your fog if it's moving fast enough. So yeah, by the time I'm done and I get all the different options I think I need, and then I'll go back and I'll look. Okay, so I know within the first 10 there's one that I was really happy with. Is that really the best one? And often no, it's not. It's very weak compared to
Uh,
how I've gotten the shot by the time I'm into shot number 200 to 300. And it's not like I'm obsessing over every one of these shots. It's like a click, change something, click, 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 change
yeah.
something, click, 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 change something,
Right.
click, click. Okay, I got that color. Let's move on. Let's move on. Yeah, and then go back and it's like you said. Sometimes you wait the next day and on fresh eyes, it's like, yeah, okay, I see where I was going with that, but I went too far. So let's dial it back, and I've got that progression because
Right.
I've got so
Right.
many different shots and options to choose from.
For sure. For sure. Um, so a lot of time I started out doing multi-clip shots because I was definitely trying to tell a story. But what had happened was, I think I'm trying to remember which one it was, but I tried a couple different things by like moving the people around, trying to just accomplish getting one good shot. But then it wound up
Mhm.
being like three or four different ones that I was like, they're all very different. It almost looks like they're doing different things, but they're all so good. Maybe I could just put all four of them together and put like some Rage Against the Machine over it, or throw,
Yeah.
there's this one channel on YouTube. They have one clip. It's like an hour and 40 minutes long, and it's every single bit of music from G.I. Joe ever. So you just
Mm.
got to kind of go through it to find it. I know it now. Like my favorite ones that I like to use, I kind of have an idea where they are. Most
Yeah.
of them are like the Cobra ones. I think those are cool. But yeah, that's generally how I go there. But I like only choosing the one because I feel like if I put three or four of them together, they're not stopping to watch those. People are just watching
Right.
the clip, and they probably watch the
Yeah.
clip once and that's it. As opposed to if you're looking at that one photo, you get to appreciate all the different aspects of that one photo. So, and to kind of counteract that for my own self was to spend a little bit less time on each photo, meaning like they all don't have to be the best photo you've ever taken because they're going to move from one to the other. So maybe like the one I just did, which was for the Major Blood mission crate and the new stuff I got from Sister of the Arsenal. It's the Major Blood mission crate. These two bad boys here. This is a laptop, which is dope as
Nice.
hell. And this here is got some mind bender chemicals in there, but it's for the old 780, which apparently
Killer.
it's well known that I'm obsessed. This is the one. I don't know if I showed this. My brother CG made that for me. One of the things I took home in the ass. But yeah, so that's kind of how I wound up taking like multiple shots kind of things. I wanted to jump back to fog. Do you have any preferences with how you try to light up that fog? Because I know you just kind of touched on it where you had said, like it can, when you really send it, depending on the direction and where your light source is, it can
Yeah.
sometimes light up in a way that instead of hiding a flaw or covering something, it all of a sudden brings your attention to it. Do you run into that kind of an issue?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like the figure to be really crisp and clear. So I don't like any of I mean, with exception, there's always exceptions, but I don't like to get the fog or the haze in front of the figure. Predominantly, I needed to hit the explosion and wash out from the explosion. So it gives some illusion that the explosion is exploding. But I also need it for, atmosphere, just to make it look like you're in, uh, in a room, in an environment, and I needed to hide creases and backgrounds, and hide focus and to get depth, because in real life things that are farther away aren't as clear and crisp as things that are closer. So I mean, you see that big time with mountains outside, like the mountains
Right.
in the very far distance, they're washed out. And I mean, that's light that's moving through all the particles in the atmosphere. So you can get a lot of depth with mountains and background, with how much fog you have between your figure and the background, and that sort of thing. So
Right.
yeah, it gets really tricky when it comes to fog and dispersal. I mean, I'm blowing it around. I'm using a hair dryer. Sometimes I'll have a hair dryer on a stand off to the side, blowing right at the figure, so I can go really heavy on the fog in the background. So I know if I need it for all of those things, if I need it to hit an explosion and to hide anything that shouldn't be in focus, or give it some depth with mountains or background or atmosphere or whatever, then I can go super heavy on the fog machine. The hair dryer blows it out of the way, keeps it moving fast, so you're not seeing wisps, and it just kind of blurs the background. So yeah, that's a big part of my style, I guess, is the fast moving fog, and the light from the explosion too. That's backlit, so that light has to pass through the fog. At the same time, if that fog is hitting any of the key lights on my figures, it's going to whiten. If the light is white, you're going to see that fog as white being lit from the top, and that's going to wash out the explosion in the background and make it not look so good. So it's a tough balance to get enough between the camera and the explosion without hitting your figure, with getting too dense so it just looks like gray smoke. Just enough, and it will glow the color of your explosion and really help to sell that. So it's fun and difficult and rewarding when it works, and it's possibly why my shot count is so high, because it's like, oh, just one more time, the fog will look a little better if I just do one more time, and something I didn't think about until just now. So I'll take a shot. I'll get the preview on my laptop. I use the one I'm using right now. I hook that up to my camera so I can hit the mouse on the laptop without hitting the camera and vibrating the camera to take the shot. So I'll get the preview on my laptop, and I'll use my phone to shoot the BTS, and my BTS starts with the shot that's on the laptop. But maybe I'm not happy with the shot that's on. Maybe I know I have a shot. It's in there in those 300 shots that I've taken. I know there's some good ones in there, but the one that's on the screen right now doesn't look right for the BTS. So now I got to keep going with that fog until I get one that I'm happy enough with that I can take the BTS photo for. One that looks like what I remember, what are those good shots looking that I've already taken. So that's another kind of curveball that gets thrown in there too.
I like it.
Because I don't want to shoot a BTS that looks way different than the shot that I've taken. That's myself calling myself a liar. So I mean, sometimes it works out that the shot that's up on the screen is the one that I like the best and the one that I use posting. But often that's not the case. So I'm trying to get as close as possible to the one that I think looks the best. And
that's what's up. I love it. Well, the thing about what you said too is where you're saying, where you're like, oh, I'll just send the fog one more time, and I can get it now. The thing about that logic is that it is logically hopeful in a sense that it's so unpredictable. You never know exactly what it's going to do. The whole, I could legitimately make a case. Believe me, I'm a justification machine. If I want to do something, I'm gonna come up with a reason that is fucking foolproof, and there's no way around it. You can see I have a 500 square foot shop in the back that's full of tools I've used one time and said, well, it's gonna pay for itself. I'll bill it into the job, and then I have it, and it's $700 sideways the wall auger that I use every once in a while when I've got to run a bunch of wire. Like it's crazy, but so I could see myself easily talking myself into that. Definitely do with the smoke. I was thinking about this just before the show, and I didn't have time to go through. have you done something with water before? Did you ever have water in? Because I feel like there was something unless I'm misremembering.
No, the Swamp Smasher box art recreation that I
Oh,
just
yes,
did use water.
that's
Yeah,
okay.
I got a cookie tray and I filled it with water and terrarium grass, I think it was.
Hmm.
So I soaked that into the water and I used some flat slate rocks to hold the grass underwater and hold that down and whatnot. And I took some shots and hated it. And so left it overnight. And overnight, the water soaked into the terrarium grass and made it look a lot more swampy. And then redid it the next day. So that looked pretty good. It was challenging though because the water just still looked flat and glassy and a lot
Right.
like a mirror. So I actually had a straw and I'm blowing from behind the camera with a couple of bendy straws together, try to every time I take the shot on
Dude,
just
that's
to
great.
ripple the water. I got the hair dryer out and I had that blowing at the water too. And then I realized if I really give it the gusto with the straw, if I hit it in just the right way, I can get some splashes. So I tried to do that with very little success. Um,
Huh.
so water's really hard.
Yeah.
My favorite way to do water is just blue cellophane, like blue lighting gel,
Oh,
and crinkle
okay.
it up as much as possible. Especially like you can cut holes in it, cut the size of like the GI Joe's legs, and cut 2 holes, and then it looks like they're standing through the water. I did a shot with Crockmaster
Shoot.
where just
Yeah.
his eyes are
Okay.
above the water and explosion in the
That's great.
background. And
Crazy.
yeah, that's just cellophane with the hole cut for his eyes. I've
Hmm.
got one coming up. It's the moray, and there's an explosion in the background, and it's flying through the water. Yeah, that's just cellophane. I tried blue recycling bags not too long ago. I did a shot straight down the moray with some explosions. It looked
Huh.
okay, but my mind goes, you know what? That's just blue
Right.
garbage bags. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I like the cellophane best, but the biggest sheet I could find is 2 feet by 2 feet. So it's kind of limiting and it's
That's
cut square. So it's hard to hide that square seam because
sure. 100%.
water is not 90 degrees and
No,
it's not
ever.
flat. It's not straight. No.
It's not straight, not at any point. It also
Yeah.
like it's also hard to scale. It seems like if you're actually with water, like I feel like when I did that jungle shot, it only worked because I had the concrete. It was a truly created space. Like if you're outside trying to shoot at a lake, it just always looks slightly off because do you know what I'm saying? Like you look like it's a toy by a giant fucking lake. It just doesn't
The
quite.
bubbles are
It,
massive. A small
yeah,
bubble on a 3 3/4 inch figure is just Python is going to come out of it. It's
right,
so
right.
massive. So
Yes,
yeah,
100%.
it's you're totally right. It's all about scale. So I mean, you got to find a way to agitate the water to make bubbles smaller, or foam it, or froth it, or one of those frother cappuccino thing,
Right. That's a great
a
idea.
blender, something like that. I've never tried it, so I don't know if that would work, but yeah.
Well, I
Uh,
feel like the idea that you're just describing though with the straws, I feel like that's a great way to be able to like control exactly what you're doing, right? And maybe at the end of the straw, you could make like a diffuser, like if it's somehow even if
yeah,
you covered the end of the straw and somehow got to seal it around the edge or like with a rubber band to keep it super tight, and then just pinpricked like 2 holes in the aluminum foil, and maybe that would give you the effect of a couple smaller bubbles, but I still think it would
maybe.
be very difficult in the end
Yeah,
because two of them together coming out could form together. Maybe you only got to do one. It's yeah. Last year when I went on vacation, I was very new to collecting and everything still, but I had brought like a figure or two, and I brought them down to the beach, and it was like immediately because I was in full blown family mode, but at the time I was just like, you know what, this doesn't look right. I don't want to spend the time to try to figure out how I got to move the fucking camera. I was like, all right, maybe next year I'll bring a little something. I even had this idea I brought. I have a Milwaukee transfer pump. It's you hook a hose up to one side, hose up to the other side. You suck water from one
Yep.
place to the other. So I moved up away from where the ocean was coming in and out up to a certain point. So I went like 10 feet past there, and I dug a nice little pitch, and I wanted to use the transfer pump to put the salt water into the little area, and I even lined the bottom of it with a little bit of plastic and everything. And then I was just like, yeah, this looks like an oasis weird thing because the ocean isn't in a puddle. I mean, it was honestly, I think it was actually about like this big, right? But no matter
Right.
what I did or no matter how I moved the figures, it was just like, yeah, no, unfortunately, this looks dumb. I've seen people, come up with shots where it looks fine, but like, I think how you're saying too, you can wind up being hypercritical of your own shot to a degree where, you just kind of like, no, I'm not doing that, and what's funny too is, of course you want to, I wouldn't say to anybody, oh, just, don't put something out just for the sake of putting something out. If you're not happy with it, don't post it. Wait another day, sit on it. It's not like, and that was something I kind of had to tell myself because, I had this idea in my head of like, oh, I've got to get this shot out. And you're just like, why? There is not one person sitting out there going like, I have talked for a while about doing this, series of shots on Major Blood taking over to lead the 7-8-18 because that new Major Blood has like the little red accents. So to me, he's now gearing up to lead the 7-8-8. That's what this is for, right? This case is going to be empty. He has to go to a Joe base and go in there and kill everybody. So there's no witnesses. They don't know that Cobra got it, but they're going to take the chemicals from the Joes. And I kept saying to myself, man, you got to get this done. And it was like this pressure I was putting on myself. And then I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's not one person that's sitting around going, where's that Major Blood shoe? You said like 3 months ago, because there's other stuff. Like if I get something new from Sister Arsenal or Mo's Mind, that gets precedent over my other ideas, right? I just let's try to get this shot out. We get with the newer stuff, and yeah, so that's that kind of thing. Do you have that? Do you struggle with anything like that? Like you just the compulsion to get something posted. Now, I mean, maybe to a sense because you did say that you're in a group that there is an actual sort of a time frame kind of thing, but outside of that, do you get like just this kind of, oh my God, I got to get this out here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I used to be on the schedule where every Friday and Saturday, I'd have something ready. Not Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday was Snake Eye Saturday, and Sunday was Cobra Sunday.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Yeah,
Nice.
so that was my MO for the longest time, and then it got tough. I mean, life gets in the way and work gets in the way, and I had to be like, you know what, it's okay. Sometimes, like I try and get something and struggle and not have an idea or not be happy with the way I executed the idea, and sometimes you just got to let yourself off the hook. And like I didn't have anything ready this week. Like I showed you that photo. I wasn't happy with the background, so you could post if you want, but like I'd rather be happy. The only one I'm really doing this for is me. It's my hobby. I like doing it. It's for fun. So there's no one that's giving me deadlines. I don't have to I haven't signed any contracts. I'm not doing this for money. It's not for a living or anything like that. So at the end of the day, I have to be happy with the content that I'm making and what I'm putting out there. So yeah, you got to let yourself off the hook sometimes. And this weekend and last weekend were both some of those cases. And I could start a series of shots that didn't make it because I've had a lot of failures lately, or ones that I've just not been happy with. But yes, coming up, I'll do some shots that I'm happy with, and I'll post those, and it'll be great.
Nice. That's what's up. That's what's up. Just want to say what's going on to my brother GI Dave in the house. Looks like he came in. I tried to scroll back and catch up with the chat, but it has developed a life of its own. It looks like they're talking about origin. Well, it largely happens almost every week, but it looks like they're talking about origin stories of screen names, which is pretty cool. It looks like there's a few different. It looks like it's all pretty self-explanatory for us for the most part. Let's see. He says, G.I. Dave is actually great. The friends I still have since that time were into them as much. The the lames. My friends are great. I'm privileged to know them. All right, well, that's super cool. Yeah, it sounds like there's a couple good stories. Orschizio says it's a drunken play on my last name. I hang out with Italians. Very funny. Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Well, welcome in, GI Dave. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. So do you do any kind of photography outside of GI Joes or in toys, or is that just the gist of
No.
it?
Yep,
Nice, nice,
just toys. Yeah, zero
nice.
experience going in. Just started with the iPhone, and then just watching people on Instagram. Like when I first got into it, Plastic Battles, a huge help. He hasn't been active in the last couple of years, but C3 Pestro.
Yeah,
GI Joe Nation, Pete over at GI Joe Nation was great. Attica Gazette, yeah. So those are the people that I learned from and inspired me off the top, and then like everybody along the way, yourself and everybody in the community now, Yojo Collectibles,
yeah, yeah,
Death Valley, Joe's
yeah,
Oscar,
yep,
Mike, Roper Room, uh,
yeah.
yeah. I
Roper's
mean,
really good. Yeah, there's some
it's a huge
really there
community. There's
for sure. Very talented people over on Instagram, without a doubt. A lot of them. One guy, I don't know how much he's. Plastic Fantastic is his name. It
Yep,
turns out
great
he
stuff.
actually grew up across the river from me. We're from the
Oh
same
wow.
area. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Literally right across the river. We're pretty close to the same age. It started because he had made a post, and it had music from a band that I knew. I was like, oh, I know those guys. And I said something. I was like, dude, that's a great song. That band is awesome. And he was like, oh, the drummer's Derek is my friend. And I was like, wait, what? Like, Derek grew up like 10 blocks from where I did. And he was like, yeah, I'm from across the river. And I was like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding? And then we went back and forth for a while. Yeah, no, that dude has printed like every vehicle or playset, I think from like 82 to 89 or 91 or something like that. He's done, with the I don't think he did a flag, but he, to me, has the definitive classified Terradrome. It's got so much detail on it. It looks absolutely insane. So yeah, he's got all that stuff too, and that's why I was just interested if you knew who that guy was, because he's I think he definitely posts some photos with all his stuff too, and it's usually pretty good. But that's awesome. Yeah, it's cool to have it's cool to have people that when to know that when you started there was people that were supportive, right, and kind of help
Yeah.
move it along. So how long have you been in the group where you publish stuff?
Oh, it's like third month, second month. Yeah,
Oh,
just
nice.
started. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Love it. Love it. It was there, and again, you said kind of self-made, so maybe but was there any kind of photographer or something that you saw, say, outside of GI Joe that kind of put a spark in there, or was it more or less like, you just were kind of like, oh, I just want to take some pictures?
I just wanted to take some pictures. Like I said, I didn't even know or really grasp that toy photography was a thing. Like I was on Instagram, I was following people taking pictures of Joes, but it
Mhm.
was more like what I call shelfies, like your figure sitting on the
Yeah.
shelf,
Yeah.
and every once in a while there'd be like some old vintage auras out in the grass or on the beach or something, and then stumble upon Plastic Battle Shots, and he's setting up like actual dioramas and scenes and telling stories, and then stumble upon G.I. Joe Nation, just to the feature of all the photographers, and that kind of blew my head open. Like, okay, this is a thing that people do, and a thing that I would like to do as well. And yeah, so it started as just building diodes for my own personal display, and turned out into which didn't happen. I never finished that project, and yeah, so
Sure.
now it's just
Sure.
building diodes for my own photography and artistic journey.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It was something very similar for me. I honestly, because now I had not seen any toy photography. So like I said, I found that I found the classified Alley Viper, and that just kind of opened the door to all of it. So like I was Destro Designs was on Instagram long before the Joes came back, because I was doing, if you scroll down, you'll see there's like contracting videos. There's like me making shit. So I had found, I don't know if you're familiar with the guy, Jimmy DiResta. He's just a maker, a really awesome dude. He's very popular on YouTube. I think he's got like almost, I actually haven't looked in a while, millions of followers for sure. And he started out in this little basement in New York City, and he was just doing woodworking and stuff like that. And like I had built my shop out there, and what I kind of wanted to do was make custom pieces to be installed. Now, what pays the bills is commercial plumbing, all the shit that's fine and I don't mind doing, basic general contracting work. But what I wanted was this idea that I could do like cutting boards and all this other stuff out there at nights and weekends when the kids were asleep. So that way I could make extra money and not have to basically miss out, where I'm working a schedule. I never see the kids. That's how it started.
Right.
And when I started posting stuff on Instagram with that kind of stuff in 2021, when COVID hit, it exploded because everybody was at home looking at their phone. And when I say exploded, I just met some very popular woodworkers and stuff, but it was all Jimmy DiResta inspired for sure. That's how I wound up there. And I remember being like comfortable in front of the camera. I love doing stories. Talking is very simple for me. And I just didn't, I enjoyed doing it. But then I hit this one project where, like, dude, I had actually, I was doing tour review for some of the big ones. Like I actually still do it for DeWalt, which reminds me, I usually hear from them somewhere around this time of year, where they send me a product for review. I review it. They actually put it right on the DeWalt website. You can see it says Destro Designs, and there's a review of whatever the last thing was, which I thought was fucking awesome. Right, that was awesome. Something I'm very proud of that for sure. But I hit this project where I could no longer update stories every day. I didn't have time to edit videos. I was renovating a 2-story building. I was neck deep in the project, and we realized the foundation was fucked. We had to strip so much out. It was almost to the point where I was like, you may want to tear this down. Like revamping this may not be worth it. Anyway, long story short, that got me far enough away from the internet. And I was like, you know what? I think I need a break. So I still had all the accounts, but I was doing nothing. I was completely inactive. I had the Twitter account, the one that I started with. The name is Marion Cobretti, which is the character, Sylvester Stallone's character in the movie Cobra. And I had that one just so I could literally follow a bunch of sports reporters, because what my addiction was fantasy football, right? I had all these different teams and I was in these different leagues. And I was just always trying to have an edge on everybody by staying up to date. That's where I was scrolling, was to look for, this guy's signing with that team, whatever. And then and of course, because your phone is spying on you, when I started looking at G.I. Joe stuff and saying it out loud, or however it got its information, it just started showing me dudes from the community, like just G.I. Joe this, G.I. Joe that. And I was like, oh, well, there's dudes online that are enjoying these toys. Because at that point, I think I had maybe a dozen classifieds, right? The Alley Viper, Destro. I think I got a Cobra Commander. I know I got like some of the Troopers, a bunch of Cobra guys, basically, just like, holy shit, these are awesome. Shockwave, one of my favorites. I definitely got him. But anyway, I hadn't seen anybody, like, I hadn't seen actual toy photography yet, but in my head, I was like, wait a minute, I can take Shockwave and then 2 Alley Vipers and make it just a scene where, like, I'll shoot one from over the shoulder of the Alley Vipers looking at Shockwave like this, and then one from over Shockwave's head looking at the Alley Vipers with their shields in the distance, and it'll be an alley setup. That was the first thing. And before I even had a chance to do that, I had this even better idea. I was like, wait a minute, I'll build like a stage area. It'll be Cobra Commander at a podium. They'll be like recording him for one of his videos where I'm going to take over the world or whatever. And it's going to be like in a mountain setting. And then all the way at the top of the mountain, looking down on it, will be like a handful of Joes about ready to raid the party. That was the next idea. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I didn't even get a chance to do either of those. I honestly don't even remember what the first shot I did was, but I went right into like a whole bunch of other shit, right? But those were 100% the first two ideas that I had. And it was at that point, I think I might have started searching the word diorama and that was all the phone needed. And I put diorama in. I started seeing all these different pictures of not just GI Joes. It was other stuff too. And then I think the first one I saw was, oh, this is a funny story. Was from the guy's name was Matt Cohen, and it said Shooting the Galaxy, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Look at these pictures. These are awesome. And so I had sent him a DM, and I was like, dude, your pictures are great. I didn't even know people did toy photography, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going back and forth with him for, I think I had said, hey, if I need any tips, would you mind? And he was like, no, feel free to reach out. And then it was, and I shit you not, the third separate time that I had spoke with this gentleman, I said to him, I was like, dude, you should be the guy who takes pictures for Hasbro because these are amazing. And he was like, well, that's what a coincidence, because I am the guy that takes the pictures for Hasbro. And I never felt like more of a boob in my entire life. Like it was, because it said it in his bio, but I didn't look.
Right.
I wasn't paying attention. Like that's the kind of shit that can get by me where, when I'm like this, I'm like a dog chasing a car. Like I'm just like, excited about it and going into it. That's a 100% true story. He was very, very nice about it. I was like, oh my God, I feel like such an idiot. He's like, it's all right. It's not a big deal. Like I said, he was very nice. Anyway, but I'm trying to remember. I don't remember what the shots were because they weren't the actual. So actually, I'm sorry. Some of the ones I saw were in fact promo shots that I had just never seen before. Because I was just buying the figures off of Amazon. It wasn't like I was searching for them on Pulse where they have all the promo shots you can flip through and see. It wasn't that. So I had no idea. I was just like, dude, these are fucking amazing. Good story. But yeah, and then it was around that time. Yeah, I'm trying to, I probably should have thought about this and scan back. I'm trying to think what the first photo that I saw of yours, but when I saw, I think it was, God, it might have had the Sky Striker in there. And then another one that I saw, it was Duke. It was like Duke, a couple Joes. I think there was a bat involved, and it just the terrain, of course, the explosions, because it wasn't just the massive explosions, which are just, like I said, undefeated. It was the rifle blasts. And I was just like, wait a minute. And then I remember the behind the scenes, and I was like, Jesus Christ, how the fuck? That is the one thing I remember for sure, because you could, when in the behind the scenes, you kind of moved the phone right up to where you saw on the other side of a rifle, and it was where the fixins were and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is amazing. And I can truthfully say that is where the idea of, taking this to a level outside of just putting two guys up like this and taking a photo. I was like, oh, there is a benchmark way high in the sky for things that you can do with these photos and make it look incredible. So I'll always refer to that as, where one of those things where I crossed the event horizon from loving dial making and toy photography into this world where I was never coming back from the hobby. Like this is it. And I think like maybe most people that are in the community we're all participating in it in this way, that like, at least for me, it all came into my life at a time that was good for me. I'm middle-aged. Life is not easy for anybody for the most part. We all have our struggles or whatever. And I wouldn't know what to say, what hole in my soul it filled, but it worked. And I'm at a point now where, we have this wonderful community. I'm as happy as I've ever been. I feel like I have these, I've met so many great people, and I do things like this, and it's pretty awesome. So, well, my brother, we are at 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Can you believe it?
I honestly, I can't. I felt like that went by pretty quick. If I were to have my hand over the timer and if you were to ask me how long it was, I would have said an hour and 45 minutes, maybe tops. But so yeah. That's fantastic. But it is a school night, so I do not want to keep you, my brother. I'm hoping that maybe somewhere down the line, I'd love to have you back for maybe a toy photography panel. I had mentioned
Yep,
this to Sneaky Figures and Yojo Collectibles when they were both on. And so
that would
between
be
that would be
amazing.
that'd be the four of us. I feel like we could go into, talk about some of our favorite things, inspirations, and stuff like that. So if you're interested, I will be putting that on the books for sometime in the near future for sure.
Hells yeah.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Yep.
And just a small tease, Mate and I talked about something backstage that I we're not gonna mention now, but somewhere down the line, a further collaboration and some things that I have been teasing. Everybody knows I've got some stuff in the works that's gonna be, like a extension of what the community is, and I think would be really great for everybody. Kind of a one-stop shop for everything that the community is about. So you'll hear more about that somewhere down the road. Let's see. I know I can find you on Twitter and Instagram, and
Yep.
it's both at Mate Mylar. Well, I'm sorry. On Twitter, it's at Ghost Machina. Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is a great name. I think that's pretty cool.
That was my
It's
old one band live looping guitar weird vocoder thing
really
that I had for I had that for years. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna post a GI Joe shot, and it got really get a lot of likes and a lot of responses. So I just kept posting and didn't bother creating a separate account. And when I first started posting, Instagram was the main one, and Twitter was like the B-side. So it was often like a shot I wasn't super happy with. That's long since not been the case. It's now been, I like the one I post on Instagram. I like the one I post on Twitter for a different reason. Sometimes they're very different. Sometimes they're very similar. But I just don't like to, for me personally, I don't like to repeat myself. So if I'm going to
sure.
put something on Instagram, why would I put it on Twitter too? There's people that follow me on Twitter that don't follow me on Instagram, and people that follow me on both. So I don't want
Right,
to
right,
just,
right.
constantly shout the same thing over and over again. So, if I can inflect a little different when I shout from a different spot, then I like to do that and vary it up a little bit. And I guess,
Awesome.
make it value added. And even the BTS is different if I can help it.
Hmm.
Sometimes I have to use the same one, but yeah, you'd like to match the BTS with the photo as much as I could. So yeah, that's the difference between the Mate Mylar and the Ghost Machina, Machina, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well, dude, honestly, I'm all about different kinds of music and stuff like that. Is there anywhere we can find that? Is that on YouTube or anything, or that's the
Uh, it's mildly embarrassing. There is a small clip of me playing a solo from one of my songs on YouTube called Talking to Robots. If you
okay,
search the Ghost Machina on, I think it's Reverb, yeah, Reverb Nation, there's some old MP3s on there. Also
okay,
mildly
very
embarrassing,
cool,
but yeah, it's okay. It's free reign. Have a listen. I
nice,
have a whole
nice.
album. I had a whole album mixed, mastered, ready to go. Super happy with it. Never released it. That's like 15 years ago. And since
That's
then, I
what's up.
have like 3 or 4 albums worth of material that I've just recorded and
Huh.
shelved and never released. I recorded something last week, and it's very sleep tokeny. It's got that metal drums with the pretty
Yeah.
pianos and some
Oh,
vocoder
nice.
in there. But yeah, I just do it because I used to be a musician, and it's fun. But I don't really, I don't do it for an audience anymore. Maybe someday, maybe not. Yeah, I
Right,
don't know.
right.
We'll see.
Dude, I mean, I'm interested. I do get down with all different kinds of music. The only stuff I don't like is whatever they're trying to pass off as country these days. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't a huge fan of country from the 70s or the 80s really all that much either, but at least it had a identity that was true to itself, and like you could hear some talent. This new rapabilly shit, I just can't. It literally makes me want to puke on my suit. And not to knock
This is
anybody in
gonna
the choices they make with the music, but it's really bad. It's like an
this
affront to my senses.
this is gonna get me in trouble with the country artists that I work with. But country today is what rock was 20 years ago with auto tune.
Right, right. It's oh my god, it's true. It's true
Yeah, it's,
though.
it's it's Bon Jovi with auto tune and a rap verse.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ. And yeah, dude, you couldn't be any more on the money with that. And it's not just that they do the tempo and the rhyming, it's the stuff that they're saying. You're just like, I can't, like Merle Haggard has rolled over like a rotisserie in his fucking grave, like knowing that this is the kind
Yeah,
of shit that they Matt from Mo's Mind called it hick pop. Oh my God, that's absolutely hysterical.
love it.
Well, we have a bunch of guys in the chat all saying goodnight, and it really looks like everybody is more or less saying that you were fantastic and that this was a
Oh,
great show and also very informative. So we
thanks,
thank
chat.
you. Yeah, for sure. And I will say this to you as much as the guys that and guys and girls who have watched the show have been doing this, is that time is our greatest commodity, like by a lot. And so when anybody
Mhm.
takes the time to come on the show, hang out, all the people that have watched tonight or will take the time to watch in the replay squad, I appreciate it on the deepest of levels, because to me it's, you can't give anybody something that's more valuable than your time. So I do very, very much greatly appreciate it. So in case you are living under a rock, and just to recap, on Instagram, you can find me at Mate Mylar. On Twitter, it is at Ghost Machina, but I'm sure everybody that is here right now definitely already knows. So, Commander Unicron says, Destro Designs is the destroyer of grammar and text. Yes, I make grammatical errors like through this. It's endless. I typo Commander reign supreme. That will always stay the same. And it's because sometimes when I jump on the timeline, I have like just enough time to catch up on notifications, and then I try to scroll through and pay attention to stuff that doesn't have my name on it, right? And sometimes when I'm like quote tweeting something, I'm just fucking send. There's no editing. I do not go back and look. I just type it as fast as I can and I send. But remember, lest we all forget that we would be without Rick Viper if it wasn't for my terrible texting. And then there was something else not that long ago. It didn't quite take hold like Rick Viper, but yeah, every time I see the Rock Viper, what like it's usually a picture of it or something, I instantly think of Rick Viper. So it's almost like Rick Viper is casting a huge shadow over the poor Rock Viper. He's like, I'll never be anything anymore. I live in the shadow of Rick Viper. So it's very good. Well, again, thank you, mate, for being incredibly awesome and an amazing inspiration to me as well as everybody else in the community. Like I said, we always have completely completely viewed you as the best and our favorite. So,
Wow.
after a while, I kept calling you the action shot God, and in my head, I'm like, I hope he doesn't think that's weird. It's like such a strange thing to say, but it's what it is,
Oh, oh,
just
thank you.
better late than never. Hi, chat. What's up, Des? And what's up, mate? My brother, the bearded sumo, he says he loves your photos. They're incredible. Well, brother, we are literally walking out the door right now, but I appreciate you coming through. The beginning of the show, your lovely wife got the shout out. So if you head back over at the replay gang, she can hear we all wished her a nice happy birthday. So if she's listening right now, Kat, happy birthday. I hope you enjoyed your birthday, and thank you so much for taking care of my brother. I greatly appreciate it. So that's what's up. And again, I'm sorry we're walking out the door, my dude. It's on a school night and everything. I know. I don't know if you have to get up in the morning, but I do. I've got a bunch of stuff I gotta go take care of. But you just missed it. Also, if don't worry, bearded sumo, Nate is going to come back with sneaky figures, Yojo collectibles. They all agreed they wanted to do it. So we'll be trying to put that together because I think that would be a really excellent show. I know that a lot of people here take all the different information that we heard, and I know that it's very helpful and informative. So having all of you guys kind of just referencing some more stuff and everything else, I think it would be awesome. So that's what's up. So thank you so much again for coming on and in advance for trying to get this other like toy photography blowout scheduled, because I do believe that would be great. Thank you again, everybody in the chat. I will see you all in those Twitter and Instagram streets. Have a good night. Enjoy what's left of your Sunday night. We will see you tomorrow. Later.
Cobra.